And we are live. What's up, guys? Today we have a special guest, Austen Summers, joining us. And excited to have you on, man, because I've been trying to get you on for quite a while, as I'm sure you know. I've been hunting through your DMs for close to a year now.
Hunting me down.
Yeah, so I'm glad we finally were able to make this happen. So for anyone who's not familiar with you, you want to start off by giving a little background about yourself, how you got into game and whatnot?
Yeah, so I don't think my story is that crazy. Like, I basically got into game. I had no options. My thought process was that I would like die alone at a certain point, and I would just never. There's no possibility of a girl ever to like me. And then it was just the reason why I got so obsessed with game is that my epiphanies were like my reality was just constantly exploding. I was like, I make out with a girl, and then I'm like, well, a girl would like me, and then I was like, okay, and then I go a little bit farther, and I could get hotter girls and more girls, and the girls with the kind of qualities, and the girls with the kind of like mindsets and the energy that I want to be around, and it was just this cool life expanding journey that taught me about everything from game, who I was, who I am, to business, to being able to connect with people in general. It gave me better relationship with my family, with friends. It was just this epic life expanding journey that I went on. And the reason why I teach is because I believe that that's what it can be for other people, is if they go on the similar journey. Because in the West, we don't really have a rite of passage. Whereas a lot of societies have like a transition from boyhood to manhood, after which they become a man. And I do view game as kind of a rite of passage, and that's what it was for me. So I guess that's my background in game, because your audience is about meeting girls, obviously. They don't really care about,
Oh shit, dude. You thought this was about me? We got you on a game podcast.
Oh shit. That's why I was apprehensive to join.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the catalyst for you to kind of start picking up girls? Because usually there's a catalyst. Like for me personally, was the fact that I would just get rejected a lot when I was in college. Like I would go out to all these house parties. I would watch all my friends make out with girls, and then I was just like alone at the end of the night.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there was a catalyst. Like my results with girls were non-existent, and I was depressed for most of my adolescence. Like, obviously I had some times where, I'd be with friends, or times where I'd be with, a girl, but I was never like in her eyes, like the man to woman vibe. It was almost always like the friend or the beta role that I was kind of like in. Like I remember I really liked this one girl, and I would be at her house because I knew her from church, and I'd be doing.
Oh shit! You used to go to church?
Yeah, I used to go to church twice a week. I played, guitar in the band on Sundays, which is actually, looking back, was pretty cool. Like I get to go on a stage every single week and play guitar. Same thing on Wednesdays. So I know this girl from church, and I'd be at her house, and I'd just do her dishes and play her songs on guitar, and just get nowhere. But there was no like real moment where I was just like, oh fuck, like the pain is too bad. It was more like I didn't know this even existed, and then when I found out about game, it was almost like discovering the like keys of the universe, almost, that like, holy shit, there's an actual method behind this that if you follow, you can get the kind of results that you want, which to my understanding back then, I had no access to any of that. And I think one of the things that fucks people up these days is there's a lot of material that they can seek out, which not all of it is great, right? You kind of teach like the optimal text game and online game stuff, and your channel is 25K subscribers. I teach like optimal day game, night game stuff, and I have 20K subscribers. The true people who are like the true people who know like the optimal ways to do this, they don't even get that much traction, which is interesting. And it's kind of sad in a way, because there's so many guys that are struggling, and dude, it's going, as like it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse in the West. people are like, well, when Tinder came out, then everyone just started getting laid and it was a party. And like you see like the time when like Instagram and Tinder and Facebook and all these things came out, like male celibacy just skyrockets, right?
Oh.
So it's actually getting worse for men. And then also this coronavirus stuff, the lockdown, it's like you already have this trend of like men aren't getting laid, and then you lock them in their house with the inability to meet up with girls, to go anywhere for a date.
And then you shame them for trying to get out of their house and trying to meet up with chicks, and you make it seem like they're basically causing the plague. Like you're trying to go on a date, you're causing corona. Like what?
Yeah. And that coincides with the new religions of like the feminazis and the SJW groups too. So it's just like this massive clusterfuck for guys, and it really saddens me. And it's one of the things that propels me to like still make videos to this day. I don't need to brag. People sometimes think that I put out videos and it's to make myself feel good or something. I don't give a fuck, dude. These videos are actually like the videos I put out. Do they make my life better in terms of like meeting girls that I want to meet? No. Like you probably had some girls that, you know, I've seen some of your stuff, and girls sometimes get intrigued when you have like you have like sex and dating coach in your bio or whatever, or your Instagram. And yeah, it is intriguing to some girls, but then you've probably had girls drop off and they find like
so many when they find when they find the YouTube channel, when they find my Instagram. It only happens when I've never met the girl. So if it's a girl who I've already hung out with and she knows me, then it never makes a difference. I usually find it interesting. But when it's a chick who's never met me and she just like skims through my YouTube is actually not that bad. When she skims through my Instagram, which is just like screenshots of like how to close a girl who's giving you a mall or something like that. They're just like, without going into the details, they're just like, holy fucking shit, fuck this guy. So I've had that multiple times. Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on a sad paradox that the legit sources are not gaining much traction versus if you make like, I see so many like YouTubers have 1 million subs and their advice is like,
get it, watch.
Yeah, just like the biggest dog shit advice. I actually had, funny enough, I had a guy I was coaching a few days ago, and I told the story on yesterday's live stream, but I think it's worth repeating. He banged this chick, right? They were texting, and I saw like after she left his house, like her interest for him was like at an all-time high. Like she was legitimately interested in this guy. She wanted to see him again. And through progressively horrible text game, I just saw her attraction drop, screenshot after screenshot. But then like it could have all been salvaged, right? If he had like come to me, but then he said he was like, and then I saw him send one text that was like really long and really particularly bad, but that text was like way worse than anything he sent before. So I was like, where did you get this? Like, he did not come up with this message. He's like, oh, I saw it on YouTube. I was like, from what channel? And he sent me a link to some chick's channel who has like 400,000 subs, but her advice is like total dog shit. Like I don't know, maybe I'll link it or something like that. But it's like the worst text I've ever seen for when a girl is being difficult to meet up with. It was just like the worst game I've ever seen. I was like, Jesus Christ, like
that's a good note for anyone listening now or in the future is find one if you're working on one area, find one mentor that you trust and just go deep with that person. Once you've learned everything you can from them, then move on to someone else. Like these people that try to like take on like, I'm just going to take in 95 sources at the same time when I have no idea what's going on and no idea what the reality is of game and social dynamics. But I'm just going to like pretend I can take everyone's advice at the same time and suss out what's the best. It's like, no, you can't. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. I always get kicked out of like when someone like, he's like, yo, you said this, but this one coach said something that's subtly different. Like, which one of you guys is right? Like, okay, so like, what does that mean? I'm supposed to like fight them or something? Like, because we slightly differ on some small technicality. Like, so yeah, it's always like, so I'm just going to do something completely different than what you guys say. That sucks and it's not going to work at all. So yeah, that's always interesting. So kind of coming back to it. So what were some of the sources that you learned from? Like, so how did you discover the community? I'm assuming you're still not, you're still struggling at this point. What happens next?
Yeah, so the reason why I actually found out about game is really random, and it just shows how random life is and how much weird trajectories your life can go on just by one thing. So I was mountain biking with my neighbors in West Virginia, and as I was mountain biking, I broke my metatarsal, had to get it fixed, and like they put a fucking pin through it. I went down to Florida. I'm just watching YouTube videos all day because I can't do anything. I'm like in a bedridden, basically, like in a wheelchair, just tremendous pain. And so I was watching YouTube videos, and there's a guy from my hometown that he was gaining traction on YouTube, and his name was Vitaly Zdorowetsky. And
Oh shit!
Vitaly
Yeah,
ZDTV. This is back when he had like maybe 50,000 subs, 30,000 subs or something. And my sister introduced me to him because her best friend was dating Vitaly.
really?
And she's like, yeah, you should check him out. My boyfriend has a YouTube channel. So I went and checked it out, and I watched all the Picking Up Girls videos, and I was so interested. And then I saw Simple Pickup was a part of that as well. Like they did some collabs, and then I watched all of their videos. And then those were good for like, just like, wow, like this is possible, and it intrigued me so much. But then the first person I really went deep into, because back then it wasn't so much like quality sources. This was back
we were talking about, like 2012 or what?
Yeah, like 2012. So there weren't too many good sources out there. And like, if you search on the internet, like how to meet girls, it was like magician, like how to meet girls with magic. And then like, what's the other one where it's like, man, it's like that it's almost like mind control and stuff like this. And I was like, that shit's fucking weird. Like, at least I had the wherewithal to understand what's fucking weird or not at that point. But I found this guy called Paul Jenka, who I eventually do want to interview for my channel. But like, yeah, my channel, I want to keep in-person interviews just because I have a particular.
I think Paul Jenka lives in England now, though. He's married with a kid.
Yeah. I'm going to Europe next summer for programs and some travels and stuff. So we'll see if I can make it happen. But yeah, I went really deep into Paul Jenka stuff. I went through all of his courses, and he was a great like inspiration early on, and his knowledge was just so on point, and you could tell that this guy knew what he was talking about. And he's the one, like I was listening to one of his programs, and it said, you know, if you're listening to this, like just fucking pause it right now and go outside and say hi to that first girl and just free yourself from this like prison you're basically in. And I just went out and said hi to the first girl I saw, and my heart was pounding. It was like I did cocaine or something. It was just like this crazy thing. And I was like, wow, it's possible to do that. It's possible to meet girls in the daytime. And I had some bad reactions. I had some good reactions starting out. But yeah, that's how I found out about it.
That's funny because I discovered Pickup. First, I read the book The Game, which one of my good friends gave to me. And then right after that, it was Simple Pickup. So Simple Pickup was the first YouTube channel I discovered in terms of game. I legitimately, for the longest time, thought that was game, just going up to girls and saying like goofy, ridiculous shit. Like, all right, it's like better than what I'm doing right now. So,
and then asking for their number after 5 seconds.
Yeah. Why not? Right. But okay, so you know how I actually discovered about you? So this was about 3-4 years ago, and it was actually not through your videos, but it was through an article you wrote. It was something like how I cured my depression or something like that. I might be misinterpreting it. But basically what I really liked about that article is that you went really in depth on, like, you talked about diet, supplements, sun exposure. So I found that I was like, yeah, you know, like, because I find that a big issue what I see with a lot of pickup coaches, whatever, is they're too like narrowly focused. Yeah, just approach and all your problems will be solved, right? But if you're like, you know, if you're massively depressed, chances are that, you know, your diet is causing that partially, you know, your lack of socialization, your lack of sun, your lack of your vitamins, whatever. There's multiple reasons. So there's usually a more like, you know, more comprehensive answer why people have their problems. So that's what I remember going through the article, and I was like, damn. And then I think I binged on like your other articles. I was like, all right, let's see. And I went through like a good amount of them. So at what point did you like kind of start looking at in terms of that? Like, okay, I need to, you know, also fix my diet. I need to, you know, start taking fish oil, like all that. Like what point did that come into the picture?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that is the one thing that kind of differentiates me is I'm more of like a holistic dating coach in terms of I look things in like all the different areas because yeah, like this, like same thing, like in terms of style of game, not everyone's going to be great at day game. Not everyone's going to be great at online game. Not everyone's going to, you know, so people should end up specializing in those things as well. But, yeah, I reached a certain point in my quote unquote game, like my ability to meet girls. And then at that point, it was like I reached a plateau. And usually to get to the next point, the next stage in my evolution or in my game wasn't necessarily something to do with my game, it was to do with my lifestyle. So like in terms of being able to connect with people more deeply, like a huge key with that was meditation and learning how to be, you know, more centered. And, you know, when you get really deep into meditation, you realize like how strong your frame is, and other people, they break really easily. So you can hold the tension more as a man has kind of a spiritual practice. And yeah, so there's different things like that, you know. And then I was like, thought about my energy level. How can I get my energy so that I give off good vibes? Because a lot of game, despite what a lot of people say, and yes, you can game and however you feel, right? But how you feel around a person impacts how your game is and how your results are. If you're giving off really great energy, you're going to attract people much easier, right? If you're anxious, if you are spazzy, if you're high stressed, if your cortisol is shooting through the roof,
For sure.
If you have like weird tendencies,
You're twitching.
If you're eating like a vegan diet, or, you know, where your brain literally doesn't even have the amount of saturated fat or cholesterol or things to actually have your brain function properly, then you're going to give off bad vibes. And that ultimately will come across in your game. So yeah, think about things in a more holistic way. I want to keep these rants shorter because, dude, I could literally talk forever.
No, I think this is a good point, because this is not something I get into a lot of my YouTube channel, just simply because it's a little bit outside the scope. But I do think it's super important. Like, I've been eating a clean paleo diet for about 7 years now. And, you know, I mainly started doing it for other reasons, not pickup related, but there is a benefit. Like, your brain does function better. You're a little bit sharper. You're a little bit quicker. Like, I see people who eat, you know, really bad diets, have bad lifestyles, and they're just slow. They're just kind of like, so, you know, like, there are definitely benefits in terms of that, like indirect benefits. What would you say, like, you know, for someone who's watching this and maybe they are at that point where they're depressed, you know, not sure if they're going to be able to gab it, what are some practical tips you would give them?
So I like to think it as kind of like your Tarzan swinging from vine to vine, because if you're starting off from literally nothing, let's say you're living with your parents, or you don't have that much money, or your brain fog is just horrendous. You know, we could start with nutrition first. One of the easiest things is to just reduce your sugar intake. What costs, and also it's going to help you financially. What costs more, a soda or a cup of water? A cup of water is free most places, right? Except if you're in fucking the Netherlands. But yeah, so slightly reduce. I remember early on I was addicted to sugar, and I would be drinking like, you know, sodas or lemonade, and there's like 40 grams of sugar in lemonade. So an easy way to do that is just put more and more water as proportion to lemonade if you're filling up something, and then eventually you can put just lemon juice in the water and drink that, and then just water. But the number one thing for brain fog is reduce the amount of sugar and grains that you're consuming. Most processed grains, like in pizza and pasta, turn into sugar in your body, and that's what causes brain fog. And one of the reasons why is it spikes the energy in your prefrontal cortex, so you get really like alert and crazy for a second, and then it drops, and then you can't focus at all. So that's why people can't work productively. And have you ever heard of like the Pomodoro method for like focus and stuff like that? It's basically like a timer for focusing, and they've also done studies that shows like 47 minutes is like optimal for working, and then you want to take a 17-minute break or something like this. But if you eat like Alex, you eat like a paleo diet or carnivore diet or keto diet or just zero sugar diet, or zero carb diet, you're going to be able to sustain focus a lot longer. And there's periods where I'll edit a video and I won't think about anything. I'll be in the zone for 5 hours straight and not have to take a break. And I wouldn't be able to do that without, you know, eating nutrient dense food. So I think diet nutrition is some really easy thing to change, and also really healthy food can be very, very cheap as well.
What kind of diet do you personally follow?
So I'm like in a paleo-ish diet, but I'm gonna transition to try carnivore diet.
I tried carnivore for 6 months. I became pre-diabetic.
Really?
Yeah, so the way my doctor explained to me, and like this is not just a theory, like this is confirmed by blood work. Before
Uh-huh.
becoming carnivore, when I was paleo, my blood sugar was around 99, which is not the best, but it's decent. And then 6 months on carnivore was like 130, 128. And basically, the way my doctor explained to me is that all the protein just does not get broken down in your liver, and then what's not broken down, it becomes sugar.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
But
that's because without glucose you die, so it does convert excess protein into glucose.
it works well. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the carnivore diet works really well for some people. I think it just depends on your biochemistry. But for me, I was just like, I don't want to fucking be doing insulin and become like a diabetic man. So I dropped it. But I did feel really good. Like, I think that was probably the happiest overall. Like, my mood was very consistently positive when I was on the carnivore diet. Like, I think probably more positive than when I was on the paleo diet. So there was definitely some pros to it for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna experiment with it. See, like I don't, dude. To be honest, the amount of good food in the world, like I don't know if it's worth it to be so strict, right?
Dude, you will hate meat by month 2. Like the first month you're like, fuck yeah, just eating steak all the time. This is fucking epic. Like I was just eating skirt steak and fatty cuts. I'm like, fuck yeah. By month 2, you're like, steak, yeah, sure. By month 3, you're like, fucking hate steak. Like,
were you eating organ meat too?
Yeah, I was. I did it nose to tail because I heard that was like the way to go about it. From also, I'm sure you've heard of him.
Dude, after you eat like just a ribeye steak, you feel like your body just feels like this is all I need. Like you just feel satiated, you feel good, you feel like
I never felt like I wanted anything else. Like I never felt hungry for other food. So that was never the issue. Like I always felt full and like, but it was just like a big part of it was just I fucking got to a point where I just couldn't stand meat anymore because all I was doing was eating like 3 pounds of meat every single day. Like I was just like, oh fuck steak, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
But pros and cons. But anyway, not to go too much into a tangent. Another question I want to ask you is, what's your morning ritual?
Yeah. So right now I'm like getting back set up in a new place, and every time I move to a new area, it takes me a few weeks to get settled again. But I'd say if you want to know what it is right now, it's my dog wakes me up at 7:30. I take her outside for her to pee. I sit in the chair until I wake up and let the sun hit me. Then I meditate in the chair for a bit. And then I usually put on an audiobook and listen to it. But like once my morning routine's fully set up, it's basically meditate, read, take supplements, and then start working. Like ideally that's it. And I like to have a very quiet morning where all I have to focus on is like meditating and reading and taking in really high quality ideas, because a lot of people think they don't have time for reading, but if you look at like their screen time or the time they're taking in information, they're usually taking in a lot of information in a day, but it's shit quality information.
Facebook 3 hours, Instagram 4 hours, TikTok just 1 hour, and like 8 hours.
You're just scrolling through like bullshit so much, like, and if you're just reading the headlines, like you have no idea you're literally, I like to draw like a circle. So basically it's like, here's reality in a circle. And then here's like the news. And it's like these two like circles that overlap very briefly, like two concentric circle, or not concentric, but like a Venn diagram. And the center of like what the news is that is actually true or helpful or productive for you is almost nothing. So I recommend people.
I made the conscious decision to completely cut off news from my life. Like, I'm very, very low. Like, if anything, something huge, super big. Like, I knew who the runners are for the for the DNC work. But that's about it. Like, I made the decision because I was almost a news junkie. Like, I would read a lot of news and I would follow political pundits and all of that, and I would get agitated when like some retarded shit would happen. But then like you just get to a point where you realize like the whole point of news is just to get you engaged and like to keep your emotions high. And it's easier to do that with negative emotions and outrage rather than like positive emotions. So really, when you get to that point, you're like, what is this adding to my life? And the answer, unless you're a multi-billionaire or you are a politician, is nothing.
Yeah, anger is the most viral emotion. So when you see something that makes you angry, don't share it right away. Take a step back. And ultimately, when you read really deep into something, you figure out that virtually everything the news has said about it is not true. And when the truth comes out about things, like, do you remember that? What was that one that everyone started burning down buildings about?
Which one, man? There's so many things.
It was a guy who was killed by the police.
You're talking about George Floyd?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they waited like 3 or 4 months for the full video to be released. They had the full video of that, but they didn't release it. Very interesting, right? So yeah, when they finally released the full video, it's like an Asian dude and a black dude go in that are cops, go in to ask about the guy. The people in the store say, yeah, he like used counterfeit money. They try to give him a cop car like 30 times. He's resisting. He's going he's spazzing out of control. He's clearly on drugs. And it's like, it's just, obviously he shouldn't have died. But the point that the media was trying to say was, this was an innocent man who was killed by racism. And it's a perfect example. He was just killed because there's racists.
Mm-hmm.
And racism is just so alive and well in America, which is laughable. Anyone who's traveled to another country knows that's not true, that America is the most racist country in the world. That is bizarre.
I've seen some fucking shit in like Eastern Europe and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure.
And one of my favorite quotes is this British guy who looked at the US. He's like, saying that the US is the most racist could only be said by Americans because they don't travel very much and they're so like unworldly and they don't know how other cultures are. Like, yeah. Basically, in other countries, as a white person, you will get treated a lot of the times the same as like black people were treated back in the 50s in the US, which is very interesting. So like other countries, and also I like to ask like my black friends, I'll say, hey, were you ever denied access to eat in a restaurant? Have cabs or Ubers ever denied you the ability to go in and ride? They're like, no, of course not. And you're like, if you hang out with like black people, you understand that there's no like social system keeping them down and this type of thing. Meanwhile, I don't know if you've ever gone to Asia. I've gone to Korea. I
heard Korea is notoriously racist against white people.
I tried to go eat in a restaurant. Oh, no. We're not open. Meanwhile, other people are going in, getting seats in the same restaurant. Come right in. And I show them because I knew like the number one thing is going to be, will he be able to communicate in Korean? I know like very, very basic things. And I had Google Translate preloaded on my phone so I could like order and communicate however I want, right? No. Another thing, I had to go to the airport and I was waiting for taxis, and taxis would come by and I'd wave to them on the street. They'd pull over. And then as soon as they saw that I was white, they'd start driving away. And dude, it was obnoxious because I had to wait an hour just like of like taxis coming and going, maybe 5 or 6 taxis to like finally get a ride to the airport, which was very, very fun.
Get a big dick in here, white man. Yeah. Dude, I've heard actually similar stories. You know who Alex? He's the Scandinavian guy, tall, blonde, David Bond's friend. He was in that video that
I know him.
Yeah, so that guy. So I met up with him in Finland. Cool guy. But anyway, what he told me was that he was living in Korea and he had a Korean girlfriend. And then like they would like, walk through the park like holding hands, and Korean people would legit come up to her and call her dirty slut in Korean, just chastise her for being with a white guy and call her a traitor and all that. And she just like burst into tears. Would you say Korea is like the most racist country you've been to?
Probably, I would say that. Beyond that, I mean, Colombia. The thing about Colombia is it's not like there are the 2% of guys that will just hate you because you're white, basically. But the vast majority of people, and there's the cultural stereotypes. It's funny because the cultural stereotypes of white people in Colombia are both good and bad. Like the pro side, it's like you met Casey the other. Casey calls it you basically like being white's almost like wearing a Rolex almost. It's like you have a permanent Rolex you can't take off. People never assume that you're going to cheat them or steal from them or anything. So you're always viewed as like you're going to pay your tab, basically, which is a good thing. You're also viewed as very charitable because
white people rips some motherfuckers off.
White people in Colombia always give extra tips. That's why a lot of taxi drivers love them. But beyond that, we're also viewed as like the only reason white people go to prostitutes and drugs. And it's like it was so bizarre. Like,
although to be fair, that is the reason like 90% of white people go to Colombia, probably.
Is it though?
I would say the majority. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but I think like more than half are there for just meeting the girls, like on Tinder and stuff like that. Anyone who has access to Tinder Gold can put their Tinder in Medellin and get 10x the amount of.
To be honest, I don't think most guys outside of the community are doing that. Like, I think mostly it is like I've been to Colombia with like my non-pickup friends, and like these are dudes who would not fuck prostitutes in the U.S. Right? They're not like super thirsty guys. Within like 2 days of getting to Colombia, they're already like fucking like, yo, dude, like it's so cheap here, we might as well. I'm like, I'm good, dude. Like, I'm getting way more matches on Tinder. Like, well, it's like $50, man. Like, come on. And like, I'm just gonna fucking do it. So I don't know, man. Like, I do see a lot of that. And again, that's not even a bad thing. I don't think prostitution is something that should be stigmatized. I don't think that's like a big deal. Personally, I'm not really into that, just because simply.
I honestly think it should be legal in the U.S. and I think it would solve a lot of issues.
It would solve a lot of issues. It would solve a lot of incels doing school shootings and shit like that. A lot of that is just dudes who can't get laid. But this kind of
make it legal and regulated like it is in Netherlands. Like you walk through the Netherlands, it's completely fine.
Have you heard they have sex surrogates in the Netherlands?
They'll have your child?
No, like more like it'll be more than just a prostitute. So she'll be like, it's like your therapist that you fuck, basically. Like it's for guys who are like really lonely, and like it'll be like she'll teach you about like female nature, and she'll fuck you, and like she'll give you intimacy. It's like something. It's like almost like she gives you like the girlfriend experience, but also with some therapy included in it. Like there's supposed to be for your mental health as well.
You know what I found is like countries that do have prostitution end up having like better relationships in general. Like if you see like the average couple in Colombia, it's like it's a very symbiotic mutual relationship. And the women know that they have to treat their man well to keep him, because like they can't like lord the pussy power over you so much like they can in the West, because like he could just go down the street and bang some chick. So yeah, it's weird. It's like it's the same thing in Thailand. It's like meeting people is like more, it's like girl meets guy versus like, I don't know. I don't want to characterize the West in general, because I have met a ton of great girls here, and the hottest girls I've ever met. So there are some issues.
I mean, you look at it in terms of averages. I would say in terms of this type of thing, culture in Eastern Europe, South America is so much better than the West on average. I think
they're happier too. Like that's the thing, is like girls think it's like, oh well, the women have to be feminine and they hate it. It's like, no, women like being feminine and they enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think a good sign of this is if you notice in like Colombia, you will never ever, almost never, have a girl comes to your place looking disheveled or whatever. If they're going on a date, they're going to spend an hour, 2 hours, like sometimes 3 hours getting ready. And even though, like, honestly, I do think that's a little bit excessive, like they're doing it because they want to, like, not so much because they have to. Like, they take like, their appearance and just like, just like everything's going to be on point. Like, they're not going to have like hairy pussies. Like, they're going to be very well like groomed. Like, I've never seen a girl.
Yeah, the hygiene.
The hygiene is always on point. Like, they smell good. Versus in the U.S., like, you'll sometimes have girls just being sloppy and lazy, and like kind of the excuse is like, whatever, right? And like, just like you can't expect a guy to like, put in a lot of effort when you're not willing to put in any effort. So it's kind of becomes like this thing that I've seen in the U.S. Again, this is not by far not every girl. There's so many cool chicks in the U.S. That's why I do kind of hate like when the red pill community says, you like U.S. is fuck. You can't, like, no. Of course, you can meet awesome women in the U.S. 100%. Just on average, you're going to be better off in Colombia, but you can still do quite well in the U.S. Yeah,
like to be honest, the girl that I will end up marrying will probably be from the U.S. or marrying, or I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But just like, dude, and you know what turns me on now is like seeing a girl who's genuinely happy, who's been raised by proper parents, like who's a good girl, who has a degree and a job. That turns me on more now than just like just like a girl who's just hot. Like obviously her looks are like the threshold for getting in, but dude, just like a happy girl who's been raised by good parents is, I don't know, some good.
Dude, it's funny you say that because actually, I have a video where I talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a video where I literally talk about this. It's called the biggest relationship mistake guys make. And the point I'm making in that video is exactly what you're saying. Looks should just be a threshold thing. So any girl that you're going to consider dating should by default be hot. And like what the argument I'm making in that video is, if you ask a lot of guys, who are in relationships, like, why are you with her? The reason they will give you is she's hot. Like that's the reason. Oh, well, she's hot, right? But that just assumes that like you weren't fucking hot girls and you have to be in a relationship to get with a hot girl. But that shouldn't be a factor. Like it should be assumed that she's hot, just like it should be assumed.
But implicit in what you're saying, is that they have abundance to choose, which most guys don't have. That sucks.
But I would make the argument that you're not going to get into a good relationship from scarcity. You have to. The only way you can get into a relationship is from abundance. So you can't kind of like. I think a lot of guys want to skip steps and they think like, I just want to get laid. So if I just get a girlfriend, but chances are, if you're not in abundance and you have a lot of bad traits and blah blah blah, and you're probably not going to pick a good girl in terms of personality, that relationship is going to be a fucking quagmire. She's going to lose respect for you. She's going to be on like Reddit, going in the hot wife section, getting like gang banged by a bunch of random strangers, possibly one of them being me. So yeah, so I think that's a big thing. But so this kind of leads us into another topic I wanted to touch on.
I want to say one thing about what you said, and it's one thing that scares guys from getting to the level where you do have abundance is the fact that your identity literally has to change. You have to become someone that you can't even identify with, the previous version of yourself, and that scares the fuck out of a lot of people. So like, have an almost like, I don't know if you've had this in your journey, but it's almost like you have an identity crisis at a certain point where you don't even recognize who you are because you've changed so drastically and your perceptions of reality have changed so much. And I think that's one thing that keeps guys the same. That and also their belief systems trapping them in the same spot that they are. But yeah.
Yeah, when I look back at myself when I was like 19, 20, it's like I obviously I'm not in denial about my past, but like it almost feels like that was like a different like lifetime. Like how did I used to think like that? Like how did I used to think that I was ugly or that I wasn't good enough for chicks or that whatever, just to me it's like so crazy that I used to think like that.
Every year looking back, you should almost be embarrassed about like what the things you were thinking. Otherwise, you're not really.
I find it kind of funny to me. I find it kind of humorous, like some of the shit I did back in those days, like how I would, like fucking. I remember I had this chick sleep in my bed when I was 19 or 18, and I literally didn't know she was into me. Like she was sleeping next to me. She volunteered, and I was like, wait, I was supposed to make a move? Like, I thought she was just sleepy, right? Like, she's like staying, like she's got her booty against my crotch. She's like staying up, like waiting for me to make a move. I'm like, all right, good night. Like we get to my room. I'm like, so you want me to set you up on the floor? Or she's
nap
like,
time.
She's like, I think your bed is big enough for both of us. I was like, oh, okay.
Cozy check.
Yeah.
Cozy check.
Yeah, man. A lot of shit like that. I'm sure you've had, quite a few of those stories as well.
Yep.
But so the next thing I want to touch on is I know with you, like a big part of your, lifestyle, game, whatever, is travel. Like that's one thing I also respect about you a lot is because I do think that a big issue a lot of Americans have is they just never leave their hometown. Like they literally have never been. A lot of Americans, I think, more than 50% of Americans don't have a passport. Like the statistics on this are just like ridiculous.
Yeah. It's 40%, and so my dog has been to more countries than 40% of Americans.
It's crazy. So how did you get into travel? How did that become like part of your lifestyle?
So I think this is partially, this just goes back to genetics. Like I'm a high dopamine brain type. So I like, I have a high, my curiosity level, if you look at the Hexaco personality test, is 5 out of 5. Like it's the highest curiosity possible. And then also my, what's the other big 5 personality? It's,
I know.
It's like novelty, basically, something like this. So my need for novelty and like exploration and that kind of stuff is super high. So partially it's genetics, but then also back in I was in college, everything kind of coalesced when I found out about game, and I was gaming in college, and I found out about travel through Nomadic Matt, who still posts content, but he had the best blog back in the day. And similar to how like certain belief systems keep you kind of trapped in the fear of like, oh, I'm not going to be able to speak the language, and how do I use the currency, and how do I do this? You basically have so much fear surrounding it. He basically says like, book your plane ticket, figure the shit, and that's going to give you the incentive to figure this shit out and go and do it. So I was a little bit fearful at first, but you know what you discover is that those things that you're apprehensive to try, if you just throw your hat over the fence, you commit to it. It's ultimately going to be extremely rewarding. So I booked a trip to England, and went to England and then went all over Europe. And that's how some of my earliest experiences pooling were basically while solo backpack traveling in Europe. So it was just like, I was there for 3 months, and it felt like that was probably like 5 years of my life, just because every day I was gaming, checking out a new city, speaking a different language, growing, dealing with challenges that are coming up.
I honestly think the happiest I've consistently been was during the month when I took my first solo trip. It was to Israel, actually. And I think it was probably one of the happiest months of my life, to be honest. Like, I was getting no pussy back then. This is when I was 20. I was like jerking off in like the fucking hostel bathroom or whatever. But like, consistently, I was like so happy during that month. I had no money, no pussy, but it was just like the adventure of it was just epic. So I can definitely relate to that. What are some of your favorite countries that you've been to in terms of women and pickup?
Yeah, well, obviously I'd say Colombia is one of them. Colombia's and it's funny, I didn't really consistently game in Colombia. That's the weird part, is like people think I did, but I actually didn't really. The first two, I went on a 2-week trip. Actually, Casey's the one who invited me. And so I booked a 2-week trip down there during a world tour I was doing from Asia all the way to Europe, which is crazy looking back on. But yeah, I went there for 2 weeks, and man, I don't even remember how many girls I banged, but it was a lot, and it was just like constant fun. And all the guys I was with on the trip were pulling all the time, and it was really fun. And that's where I actually met my girlfriend. I just like met her night game, grabbed her number.
Is this the one with the huge tits?
Yeah, okay. Brought her out for food, and dude. They said the first date with my girlfriend, I had to keep postponing, which she actually liked because she's always late everywhere. And the reason I postponed...
That's a huge thing in Colombia. They're always fucking late. Like 2 hours is the norm.
Yeah, the reason I postponed is I went on a hike with the guys I was traveling with, and Casey actually fell off a cliff and almost died. He shattered his hip, and we basically had to take a rope that we found in the trail, throw it down, and pull him out. And basically we had to carry Casey out of the fucking wilderness, and my hand was on his wound to keep his blood from rushing out, and we're carrying him like, I think it's like a 4 or 5 kilometer hike, like over mountains and shit in the jungle. In the hospital, like getting the taxi driver leaves, like we have to like call him, like, what the fuck, stop leaving. Our friend is about to die, please come to the place where you dropped us off. Getting in the taxi, going to the hospital. Finally I get to her, my phone dies, I'm covered in blood, and I have my phone there, and I'm like, listen, I know this looks weird. We need to go to my place so I can shower first because I'm covered in blood. So we go to my place, shower, all the blood comes off. I take her out to dinner. Then I brought her out to like a penthouse party that my friends were throwing. So fun. Come back, like epic. I don't think I got laid. She was on her period, so I got head. But then I fucked her for the first time in a national park in Colombia afterward. But dude, it's just, I had so many crazy memories that I wanted to go back. And it is one of the only places I truly get sad to leave. Like the mountains there, it feels like magical. I don't know how to describe it. You feel like you're in a magical land, like, and especially the further up you go in the mountains. A lot of people make the mistake of going to the downtown areas or staying in Jaros, which is complete shit. Holy fuck. I feel so bad for it.
I kind of like it.
It's probably like
prostitutes constantly approaching me. I'm like, hey, my friend, you want some coca? Some chicas?
Yeah, it's probably like if I could like devise like the worst possible experience for someone to have besides the restaurants, I would put them in Jaros. It's like tiny sidewalks, tons of cars,
Just to
polluted,
clarify,
noisy.
we're talking about Medellin right now.
Yeah, polluted, noisy, prostitutes, people selling shit, people coming up to you at a restaurant and like bothering you for change and stuff. Dude, it's horrendous. But there are really good places to live in Medellin, and also like the quality of the people that you meet will be a lot higher. You don't have like street urchins and stuff. Like if you go just a little bit further south, you can live next to a beautiful park with huge trees and butterflies and birds and like friendly, sociable, upper class Colombian people that are smart and speak English and speak Spanish well and clearly. I don't know if your Spanish is kind of intermediate, I think, but like, dude, there's people who you meet in Colombia, you can't even speak to them because their Spanish is so bad. It's like, might as well be Chinese.
What part of Medellin are you talking about right now? You're talking about like the mountains south of.
I feel like I don't even want to say it because I don't want to spoil it. But I'll text you. I'll text you afterwards.
All right, sounds good.
Everyone listening, Jaros, the best spot, best nightlife.
I honestly like Park Riadas. Like I think, yeah, what you're meant, it is annoying, all the panhandlers, the prostitutes, but honestly, dude, I still think it's cool. Like great food, great, you're walking distance.
It's cool if you haven't been anywhere else. But if you've gone to the other parts of the city that are good, it's like it doesn't compare.
Do you like the Lorales area, like where the university is?
So that place is good for going out. It's the best nightlife area in the city, but and you'll actually meet real girls. But to live, it's bad. And I have lived there. It's the basin of the valley, so the pollution collects there, and it has the heat island effect, which exists in all cities, but it's especially prominent there. What that means is the heat collects there. One of the other things I love about Medellin is you have perfect climate, and if you don't, you just need to move either higher altitude or lower altitude. So basically, if you want to live in an area that's like nice and cool, you could literally live in a place that's cold, and all you have to do is drive 30 minutes, which is so bizarre. Like if you go to Laureles, it's hot. It's like too hot. And then you drive 30 minutes east and you're in an area that's higher up in the mountain, and it literally feels like you're in like fall weather in Canada. It's like so interesting, and it's consistent weather year round. So if you want like a specific like what temperature, and you don't want to ever use a thermostat, you just have to like move up like 100 meters or 200 meters or 300 meters up the mountain, which is one of the coolest things. I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but higher altitude have lower temperatures. So it's fucking sick. And another thing I like about it is that you could basically design like your own Tai Lopez life for pretty cheap. So you could buy a farm for $40,000, have cows and chickens, and have like your like estate up in the mountains that has like a pool and a view and clean air, and like just you're like immersed in nature. And then you have your place in the city for hustling and pulling girls, and like, so you could design your life however you want it for very cheap there. Whereas in the US, it's much more difficult. You have to make probably 5 to 10x the amount in the US to have a similar lifestyle. Sorry if I'm ranting too long. Tell me to stop. I can talk forever.
I mean, this all makes sense for me because I've been to Medellin numerous times. Honestly, Medellin is my favorite, by far my favorite city in Colombia. I didn't like Bogota that much. I also got robbed at knife point in Bogota, so kind of sketchy. It's cold there and shit. Cartagena was just too many prostitutes and too hot. Cali was okay. Cali I thought was cool, but I haven't been to like Barranquilla yet. I hear that's a cool city. But yeah, so I
would recommend you check out Santiago, Chile as well.
I've heard great things about it.
I hope I don't ruin it with this, but it's too far for flights. Most people don't go. Most people don't even travel. So I'm not.
Yeah, I would actually feel really flattered if I had the ability to ruin a city just by
the clout.
Like, that's like insane fucking clout. All right, guys, we're gonna destroy fucking Argentina.
And the next city to destroy, we voted on.
There's some DTF chicks in. Yeah.
Push the launch button.
Aside from Colombia, what are some other like your favorite cities for game that you've been to?
Oh yeah, that's the main thing. Dude. This is what I'm telling you. I can rant forever. So just keep me. I'm like a good. What's it called? I'm not a good quarterback. I'm a good running back. So just give me the ball and I'll take it somewhere.
You're good. I like the rants.
So yeah, Santiago, Chile. I'd say Chile in general is one of the coolest places I've ever been. The highest concentration of extremely hot girls in one place was at one nightclub inside of Santiago. Like better than Vegas, better than the best clubs in Miami. Just insane. Like the hottest girls you'll ever see in one place at one time. Beyond that, I mean, you're close to the mountains, which is awesome. You have the highest mountains outside of Asia right there. And then you have a $400 round trip flight to Rapa Nui, which is the most remote inhabited island in the world. And really crazy culture and history of that island. Like you can crawl inside a volcano tunnel that was like used as a refuge in times of war and have this epic view outside of it. Like go inside of calderas, which is like a collapsed volcano. You could hike all the way down the collapsed volcano and you're in this like freshwater lagoon on an island that has species of plants and animals that don't exist anywhere
Also,
in the
this
world.
all sounds really fucking epic to me, but most of these guys are just trying to bust a nut. Let's focus on the
Yeah. And, dude, literally when I went there though, I felt like I was on an episode of Rick and Morty because it's just like this. It's like going down the bloop to like the portal gun, and then you're this alternate universe. But yeah. So good for game. Europe, Kiev is supposedly good for game. I think it's the best for doing social circle because I think it's been ruined by pickup boot camps and stuff there.
I've never been to Kiev, but what I've heard from several sources is that you're not gonna. You need to go on multiple dates with chicks. Like you're not gonna,
exactly. That's why social circle. I would say social circle. The guys I know that are crushing it there. There's actually maybe I'll send it to you after because I can't think of the name of the podcast. But yeah, he's constructed a crazy life for himself there. Like, dude, during the lockdowns and shit, when things are going really hardcore in April and May, this dude was having like legitimate orgies with like, I know I like girls with ass, but that's the downside of Kiev. There is virtually no ass. The one girl I found with ass there left on the flight the day after I met her, and I could not meet up with her. It was tragic. And she said, yeah, guys don't like me here because I have a black girl ass. And dude, the stunning model, dude, when I'm saying stunning, probably one of the top 5 girls I have seen visually. I've penetrated with my eyes in my life. Yeah, but she couldn't meet up with her because she left. Fuck. Anyway, no ass. So if you like ass or good bodies, don't go to Kiev. They are the definition of like model hot, like very skinny, beautiful faces. And I've heard some people get bored because they're all stunning in the same way, because they all have like that same kind of stunning look. And every girl looks like a 10 until you approach, which is very deceiving. It's like you'll approach and then you look at her face and then she's like maybe like a 7 or a 6 or something. But it's a similar thing to Colombia, how girls really care about their appearance. They have to compete for men more so.
It's a big part of the culture. I can imagine though Kiev getting old if you don't speak Russian. Like I actually feel like I would
have to learn Russian.
Crush it in Kiev because I have an American passport and I speak Russian fluently. So that's like just
dude, sick. Have you gone to Moscow?
No, never have.
Dude, when I look at the culture of Moscow, I'm like, that just seems like one of the coolest places to live. It's number 3 for female entrepreneurship, yet the women are extremely feminine, care about their appearance, treat their men well. There's like more normal gender dynamics, great relationships. They have family values. It's not like ruined by the multiculturalism and this kind of bullshit and SJWs and stuff. And they're very conscious about like not letting in the shitty ideas of the West into their country because they see how, in Europe,
like the West.
There's a book called The Strange Death of Europe, and it's about why Europe's dying. And yeah. Anyway, so I'd say, Eastern Europe. Poland was good, but every girl I saw there seemed like something was off about her. I don't know how to describe it. Like I meet this girl, she was cute, and then she has acne. I don't know. I don't know if it's about like the nuclear stuff there or the pollution, or I don't know what it is, but yeah, a lot of girls seemed off. But girls were super receptive. I think if you like to do day game, night game, Poland is fucking phenomenal.
Dude, that's funny you say that, because I actually had a completely different experience in Warsaw. I thought the girls physically were stunning, and there were some really cool chicks for sure.
They have great bodies.
Yes. What I noticed that I did not like about Warsaw is when it comes to night game, the chicks are so fucking bitchy. Like, I experienced in terms of bars, the bitchiest chicks on average. Like, dude, we're talking like, I don't speak English. Well, like, I know she speaks English. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, well, you want me? Like, I start speaking to her like with 3 words in Polish. I know, like, get the fuck out of here with this nonsense. Viciously.
Hey, I can't speak on Warsaw. I can only speak on Krakow. That's the only city I went to. Dude, that's the thing. Is like. It's like people, yeah, like you said, people. Let's say if someone goes to Bogota and they just go, Colombia sucks, dude. I went there, I got robbed or something. And like, they don't realize that different cities have different cultures. Yeah. Like, part of the culture of Medellin is called buen educada, which means like well educated, which means well mannered in English. And so like the people there, like it's a big city, but people have it like drilled into them to have good manners with everyone. So people are polite, friendly, etc.
Definitely are. Interesting. I know that. Have you? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna just wrap up the top. I'd say Sao Paulo, Medellin. Let's just throw Krakow in there. Krakow. I can't recommend Budapest because none of the girls there that I met spoke English that was anywhere decent. Kiev is good if you like very skinny girls. You want to learn a little bit of Russian. Yeah, like I said, in Colombia, you probably should learn Spanish. If you like Asian girls, the best places, Manila, Philippines. They like Americans more than Americans like Americans. Bangkok, Thailand, Jakarta, Indonesia. Thing with Jakarta is it's all online game, right? You can't like day game because it's like a very Muslim country, but like you could basically have like delivery girls to your house like 3 times a day because the online games so good. Yeah, that's what I'd say are the best. But also, dude, Toronto, I know Toronto's like SJW or whatever, but fuck, dude, the layout of Toronto made it such an amazing city for dating a game.
Dude, you know, every person I know who lives in Toronto loves it. Like, I've heard that. You're not the first person I've heard that says that. My buddy Jeff, I think Justin Mark says the same thing. Like, I've heard this from numerous people already.
It's great. It has amazing nightlife and amazing day game, and like just the layout of the city. A girl can get on the subway system that she pays monthly for, so it costs her basically $0 additional dollars to meet you. There's no barrier to entry for her to go on a date with you, etc. You can live in like the suburbs where you have a yard and a park and green and like quiet, and be like right next to a subway station. And has one of my favorite supermarkets in the world, has just epic locations for dates, like tons of comedy bars. It's a very young, youthful city. Like Austin, for example, Austin, Texas is a great youthful city because there's so many young people moving there. But you have to have a car and the traffic's horrendous. There's not like a good metro system, right?
There's no metro system. I don't think that. Well, I guess it's basis of comparison because I moved to Austin from LA. So comparing to LA, the traffic there was just like heavenly, dude. Like, I'm like, oh, it only takes me half a minute to get to the other side of town. Like, this is epic. Yeah. In LA, it takes you 3 fucking hours. Like,
dude, you're telling me. I remember like bringing girl. You know the what's that fucking bar in Santa Monica?
The Bungalow.
Yeah, the Bungalow. So, dude, we were living in Laurel Canyon. Beechwood Canyon in the Hollywood Hills, and we're pulling girls from the Bungalow on like Thursdays. It takes like 45 minutes to get home. Or, dude, I pulled a girl from day game from Santa Monica, the same spot. It took us an hour and a half. So it's like the majority of the time you're gaming the girl, you're in a car. Yeah, it's brutal. That's that. Right. And they made that city if you guys want to look into this, look on like the strange death of like the electric car or something like this. What killed the electric car, and you can see why American companies basically lobbied Congress to get the cities built around cars, and that's why our cities make no fucking sense, and why you have to pay so much for road maintenance, and why you have to buy a car that's a stupid investment, and just like on, and why it's like everyone has shitty logistics, and why there's like more, whatever. But I could go on and on about that.
One last question on this topic. So let's say COVID wasn't a thing, right? So pre-COVID, if you had to pick one city to commit to and live there for the rest of your life, just looking at overall everything, pickup, lifestyle, what would that city be if you had to pick one?
And I would have like citizenship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I have access to other parts around there that are in the country.
Sure.
Man, it would either be Toronto or Medellin. Because I know if I was in Medellin, like I could do my job anywhere digitally. And dude, like being set up in Medellin, like very low stress lifestyle with like your own farm, your own like epic penthouse duplex, or I can play. Dude, I used to play basketball in my own fucking house, like with a full size basketball hoop and ball. I used to have like Nerf gun battles. I bring people over and just like have Nerf gun wars in my house. Epic view of the city. Yeah, like either Medellin or Toronto. Toronto's awesome too because you get the Four Seasons. Just the quality of the girls that you meet in Toronto is so high. Like I know
that, dude. I only want one season summer. Like I fucking hate wintertime. I haven't seen snow in 7 years.
Yeah. I would say there's pros and cons to each. Like Miami, it gets way too hot in the summer. I will say it gets to the point where it's unbearable to walk. Like I don't want to live somewhere like that. That's the good thing about Medellin is like you don't have to worry about AC or heating or anything. It's perfect temperature year round. Yeah. So there's that. But then also one thing that changed my mind on this was that with the passing of time, like with the season change, you get a sense of the passing of time and a kind of a reflection of the fact that you're going to die. So you kind of like make use of the time and you kind of appreciate certain things more than you otherwise would. You appreciate when it's good weather. That's the cool thing about Toronto is when you're there in the summertime, people are out, dude. They are outside. They're washing the car. They're going on hikes and walks, and they're out. There's festivals every fucking day in the city. That's another thing, dude. That's one thing that I missed about the West is just festivals. Festivals are like the funnest way to meet people. You're in an environment where you like the thing that's going on. So, like for example, whether it's a veg festival if you're vegan. You can meet fellow vegans, whether it's a Greek festival. Dude, I used to go to the Polish festival, Ukrainian festival, Toronto, extremely hot girls. Just like, it's so fun to game those environments and meet people. And yeah, so the only thing that's the downside for me for Toronto is that I'm a US citizen and ultimately I'd probably have to get citizenship there, which would be fucking obnoxious. It's just like another added stress that I wouldn't want to deal with in my life.
Have you ever been to Florianopolis in Brazil?
No, I haven't, but people say it's the hottest girls. And it's funny enough, if you look at the genetic variants of Brazil, it gets whiter as you go further south. So basically what they're saying is they like white girls when they say Florianopolis has the hottest girls, because the further you go south, the more German ancestry, the more Italian and Portuguese ancestry.
They got the big Brazilian booties, which is what I like.
But I think it's like the genetic variance is like 75 or 80% European ancestry in Florianopolis, and then 20 to 25% native. Whereas if you go Nordeste, which means the Northeast, you have like more just complete native people.
I've heard from you.
Brazilians are fucking amazing, dude.
I know.
Dude, I wish I just spoke Portuguese already, and I wish Brazil was more safe. But
so what I heard is Florianopolis is actually very safe. So I've heard from numerous people now who really well traveled people who've been to like every city, is that Florianopolis is just wins for overall lifestyle. Like it has 20 beaches, it has the mountains, like a gorgeous city. Safety, it's like supposedly super safe there, and just quality of women and lifestyle. I've never personally been there, but that's definitely like next on my to-go list.
I think it's like anything. If you just go to the richer part of the city, the rich people pay for better security and better trained police, and that's part of the city is safe. My dad's ex was from Brazil, and he went there, and she tells him like they're going to a certain area. She goes, "If there are men with big guns, do not be afraid." And yeah, they go and there's like guys with like legit like M16s and like scars and whatever. And yeah,
you see that all the time in Israel. In Israel, like you see like hot ass 18-year-olds with fucking like like AK-47s and shit or M16s like walking around.
Dude, look, anyone who's interested in like warfare, look up like the 6-Day War. There's like a really good like a channel that did a review on it. Holy fuck, dude! Don't fuck with Israel. Oh my god, dude! They were getting attacked by every side. By like, there's like 10x the amount of like people fighting them, and they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna send our air force out. They like took out all their air capacity all over there, and just holy fuck, dude. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense why they're all forced to like do 2 years of military service, because holy fuck, dude.
Yeah, anyway, I mean, I honestly think a big part of that is that Jews got fucked with so hard in the 30s and early 40s by a certain country that they were just like to have this like fucking burning desire. It's like the guy who got made fun of or something like that. This burning desire to like not be fucked with again. So that's where you have a lot of like the Israel security and shit like that coming from.
Yep. Also, you have like one of the highest IQ countries surrounded by average IQ countries, which plays into it as well. But we can't get in too deep to that because YouTube is not the fan of objectivity. It's so funny how like so many things that are objectively true are like controversial.
Yeah,
but anyway,
and well, there's a bunch of rabbit holes that we can go down. But let's jump into some questions. We got quite a few building up. Austen, who's your biggest role model in cold approach besides Alex from Playing with Fire?
Probably Alex Valenchek. He's probably like my main inspiration.
Do you have a poster of him? I hear he's extremely.
That's actually why at the start of this call I turned my camera around because I know
makes sense.
It's not a poster; it's a mural. I had an artist from Italy. No, but actually I'd say Vadim because Vadim is the person like. When I was sitting here in my house, like looking at game, he is the person who I thought had the best game of all time. Like when I found out about him, I was like, holy fuck. Like this guy is a legit master. And there's so many people who can talk about concepts and stuff, but one thing that I like to say is like I don't believe anything until I see it. Like I believe Alex is good at text game because I see his text game. Yeah. How the fuck am I? If someone has like some Here in My Garage videos where he's just like, yeah, so here's the key to game, and it's like he has no proof and no infield, I'm skeptical until he proves that he's good. So yeah, Vadim proved it. And I lived with him for 2.5, 3 years, and like we just go out, Basically, this was our schedule. We'd work all day, and then it would become like 12 at night, and we go, we should probably like go out for pool time tonight, yeah? Then we shower, get ready, put on some cologne, pop out at 1 a.m., hit the bars and clubs around that time, and then pool or don't pool, or yeah. It was basically my life for 3 years, working and gaming.
Let's jump on the next question. How can you show a woman that you're a strong protector so she can be submissive if you're a small guy?
Well, first of all, you're identifying with being a small guy. And the number one thing that women look for in terms of like subconsciously protecting you is muscle. It's the number one thing I'm focused on right now too, is because I had 7 months where I had no access to a gym, and I as much as I tried, I could not build the habit of working out in the same space where I'm supposed to relax and work and stuff. But yeah, gain muscle. And also a lot of it comes down to your frame. How strongly do you believe in the stuff that you're saying? How strong is your belief in yourself and the belief that you are in control, the belief that you are the boss basically in any situation? So that's something you cultivate over time. There's no like one quick tip to show girls that you're the protector. hey
Yeah.
girl, I'm the protector. Like
I
it's
would,
it's really just physical strength, size, ability to defend yourself, and your frame and how like alpha you are.
I would actually make the argument that, at least with me personally, I never try to be the strong protector. I'm not like Captain Save-A-Ho. Like, I think in order for a chick to be
You
submissive,
are naturally big though, dude. I've seen you in person. You've good muscle size. You're
but
like pretty
that's
tall.
only now. So, dude, I'm gonna show. I'll send you a picture of me. Like 3 years ago, dude, I was 135 pounds. Like, this is all after I got on TRT. I started taking lifting seriously. Like, this is
It's
not
another
my.
tip. Take TRT.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, well, yeah, that can definitely help. But yeah, so this is not like all my life I was the skinny small guy. Well, I'm not short, but I was the skinny guy. I would, but like me personally, like I'm quite dominant around chicks, and I don't give a shit, and I fuck around a lot, and they act submissive around me because they know that I don't judge them, and that I'm not gonna like if a chick's like, oh daddy, I want to suck that cock, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you want to suck my dick? I'll be like, well, what the fuck are you waiting for, little girl? So. Yeah, I would make the argument that.
And one thing that you said that was very key is you fuck around and you're like almost obnoxious and like and teasing and joking and stuff like this. And one thing that communicates is that you are that way throughout your life. And what it communicates is there's no man that's your boss that tells you, no, Alex, now is not the time for jokes and like put you in your place, etc. So yeah, what's it like the wild stallion, basically? If you could cultivate that part of yourself. And a lot of the time, guys have just been beaten down by school and work and being in a workplace and being that guy that conforms to the rules of the environment that they can't let that loose. So part of what guys need to work on is being unstifled so that they can, because the guy who says whatever the fuck he wants is at the top. Right? There's no man who dictates his schedule, when he can take time off, what he can say, what he can do. So,
I think a really good example of this is Hank Moody from Californication. I know you've done in-depth videos about him, or like whatever, you analyze his, his game. I think like he's a really good example of like carefree, fun, also, man to woman, dominant, like all that shit.
Yeah, I have to see some more of his stuff because people generally have glowing reviews. My review is just like so confused that people think he's but I think the scene that I was shown was like really bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's definitely a lot of Hollywood in Californication. Like things just work out really, really well for him. Like, usually like you need to really do a lot of approaches to get that kind of luck that he has. So there's that. I mean, it wouldn't really be an entertaining show that showed him like doing cold approach for half an hour to like bullshit. But in terms of just like some of the other stuff, I think it's, if you take the Hollywood aspect of it aside, I think he's good. Like when guys always ask me, oh, like whose infield should I watch? I want to, I need some examples of like alpha behavior or being charming. I always say watch Californication. That's like my first response. All right, let's jump to the next question. So, do you believe in honest signals saying most women want an alpha nice guy or a nice guy with boundaries? Me personally, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, so I mean, you could define it in a lot of ways. My favorite way to define it is the tender defender. So with her, you're very sweet and you can connect and you can like show vulnerable sides of yourself, but you also have the side of yourself where and what he says, nice guy with boundaries. That's important. I wouldn't say nice guy, I'd say good guy with boundaries, because nice guy has a lot of connotations of being actually manipulative, like putting on a front to get the girl when you're actually, you don't want to do certain things for her, but you think you have to. Right. But yeah, boundaries show that you have abundance as well. Like boundaries show that you are in control of your own life, that you value yourself, that you can put certain walls up, that you don't let people walk over you. And it shows a lot of good things, such as the willpower instinct. It shows a lot of great qualities. So I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I'd be curious to hear what your perspective on this. But like, if you ask my booty calls or my ex-girlfriends, they will all describe me as a really nice guy. Like he's nice. He treated me good. Like I don't think there's a single girl who I've had any kind of meaningful relationship with that can say that I'm an asshole, I'm a dick, right? Yeah, I just don't think that, because I'm really nice to like girls who like I see in any kind of like relationship. So like I think that, but that doesn't make me a pussy or beta. Just you can be nice and still be alpha.
I will add a caveat to this, and it's that certain girl, like for example, if your goal is to get a specific girl, this strategy will not always work. And Alex, I guess maybe next time we're in person or something, I'll show you some interesting text game stuff. But it was like I was basically going through my normal text game stuff, and it wasn't working. And I realized it was around the same time where I had the epiphany of like, you know, the spectrum between girls who respond to lovey-dovey qualities in people because they've had, you know, good upbringing, etc. And then there's all the way on the other side of the spectrum, girls who have abandonment issues and daddy issues.
They want you to almost abuse them.
Yeah, they need to be they need to chase you basically to have any. There's also like the extreme is like the strippers who like literally ask you to like slap them in the face.
Oh, dirty forward, spit in my face.
Yeah, but yeah, so I will say there's a caveat to that. And so if you want to get a certain girl, and the way to get her is to make her chase basically, and you know, devalidate her, etc., because that's how she experiences love. I'm not saying that that's the way to do it to like break her down or something. It's because that's how she thinks about love. Girls who have abandonment issues, if you literally, if you kick them out of the house, that's how they weirdly, that's how they weirdly interpret you as the person that they should love, which is fucked up. And I don't even play around with that stuff so much anymore because it doesn't attract the type of women that I want long term. And my whole thing is like, if you were to tell me like, what is Austen's game optimized for? I'd say my game is optimized for meeting a girl for 15 minutes in the daytime, or if you want to pull her, but 15 minutes of the daytime, getting her Instagram. She's a good girl. You go on a date with her, and then she's a girl who you can see throughout your week, or if you want to make into a girlfriend. That's what my game. I don't optimize my game to get like, what's the bitchiest, tallest, fakest, which bitch has the most OnlyFans followers, and you're going to get her and she's going to be so psychologically disturbed and have like, you know, tattoos in her eyelids and like that's not what my game is specialized for. But if you want to get those girls, there's certain things to do.
You're 100% correct on that. Just to be clear, so what I'm not talking about the initial stage of when you're getting a girl. I'm talking about girls who I was actually in a relationship with, or they're my booty calls long term. And the reason I kind of said that is because I don't, for short term, like just want to get laid, and there's a hot chick who's like a bad bitch, like I don't give a shit. Like I'll fuck her and I'll run, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
But you don't really want to see her again.
Yeah, I never see those girls like consistently. Like I don't like their company. I don't really respect them. Yep. Like, you know, I don't want a girl.
You have to do the calculation in your head. You're like, is this girl, how annoying she is, worth the bang? And you're like, should I? Oh man.
For me, it's actually really simple. It's for me to fuck a girl, she just has to be hot. That's the only criteria. Like hot, over 18.
Dude, sometimes, dude, I can't. I literally will walk out of dates. Like if they're too annoying. I did this the other day. I had a girl. She was so obnoxious over text and so just like, dude, I'd be on a call with her and she's just like hang up randomly. And I'm like,
I gotta go. Like, Snapchatting me. Yeah.
Dude, just like no concern for other people because she's so hot that it's like in her reality, everyone is like beneath her almost. And dude, I had her go to the date and I just didn't show up. And I go, oh yeah, well, 1 sec. And then I had her like go like meet me at a house, like an apartment, and said I was coming down. And like I never even went down because I honestly think I did the right thing because that's going to change her behavior. If I just went along with her being completely shitty to everyone, what is that going to result in her life? Her treating people horribly for the rest of her life.
Honestly, bro, I think you may have changed her for that evening. I think she's going to go right back to what she was doing literally the next fucking day.
I think it does give you some room for pause if you can expose these parts of things that people do. And
only if you have self-awareness.
I know I explicitly laid out to her, like, this is the reason why I'm not meeting you. And this is the reason I did this. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe not.
We'll see.
Dude, I am literally a rant. I'm turning into some other pickup YouTubers at this point with all my rants.
No.
A 4-hour rant on that.
A good rant is always appreciated. All right. Tips for finding wingman and mentors in pickup or another industry. Love the videos. Thanks. I think you probably have more perspective on this than I do.
Yeah. So sadly, because of a lot of feminazis and SJWs, a lot of in-person events that were basically the backbone of the pickup industry or the pickup community, where you go out and you meet guys like, hey, you know, I'm pretty shy, but I'm working on this. I'm going out 3 times a week. What about you? Yeah, man, I'm going out here. Let's exchange numbers. Cool. Yeah. Yo, I actually started a WhatsApp group. That is not really existent anymore. And the kind of people who are willing to make the sacrifice to go to dozens of cities to throw in-person events for people to meet each other, it doesn't really exist so much. And that'd be interesting to talk to you, Alex. Maybe we should throw an event in Miami.
Dude, I'm surprised I didn't actually mention that to you last weekend. I've actually been planning this. The COVID shit, it would have already happened if it wasn't for the Corona thing. But when this whole thing dies down, I 100% plan on doing it.
I think you can host events of any size in Florida now. I don't know about Miami.
The issue is Miami, people will come because of COVID. Like, either there's restrictions.
Yeah.
That's the issue. I wouldn't want to do it in Florida, though. I would want to do it in, I think, either Colombia or Eastern Europe. But anyway, we'll yeah, dude, my dog does the same exact shit.
Dude, that is such a funny pose.
My dog literally does the same exact shit. They just ridiculous positions. So honestly, here's my 2 cents on this. I think for finding wingmen, I think like one of the biggest things, well, first of all, he should be a cool, normal guy. Like for me, honestly, if I'm just like, you know, for my criteria for going out with a guy and just chilling with him, isn't like, I don't really care that much about their pickup skills, right? As long as they're like not totally embarrassing or something like that. I care more about if they're a cool guy that actually, you know, like to spend time with. Like some of my closest friends, like right now, are guys who are maybe like 20 or 30 late count. Like that doesn't really affect my decision, you know, whether I want to be friends with someone or not. I would say, but the second thing is just offering value. So some kind of a value to the person. That could be through literally anything. Like for me personally, like what is the value that I bring to the table? Well, one, I can fucking help you with your text game. You know, I'm pretty fucking amusing. I have a husky. I'm pretty loyal. Like there's you know, there's like certain things that you should be able to bring to the table. And if you're at a point where there's literally nothing that you can say that you bring to the table, then that's like, you know, that's just, you know, you kind of,
at the bare minimum, you can bring a good vibe and you can motivate the other person.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of people just say value and they don't really explain it, but yeah, it comes down to what is going to help this person in their life. Like if you have a car and the other person doesn't, and the club is 20 minutes away, then if you pick them up, that's valuable to them because you're offering something that helps them in their life. But I'd say there's different groups per city. So in Facebook, Google your city, or like Google your city, Facebook your city. There's certain Telegram groups as well. Basically, I would start on Facebook, put your city in, Miami. Join
the platforms. We have like thousands of people now. There's probably someone who lives in your city. I've had like numerous people tell me they met, you know, their wing. You know, one guy, he met his like roommate like through just PWF. So literally just join the PWF forums. It's an active community. Join the Austen group and just ask around on there.
Yeah, I have a Facebook group and I also have a Telegram group, which is you find on my YouTube channel. I don't. Really
we'll link everything in the description at the end. Awesome. So I want to touch on this. What are your tips for finding mentors? Because I know Vadim was a mentor for you.
Oh yeah, we only talked about wingmen. So I'd say mentors. It's more important to find someone who you resonate with on almost a more emotional level. I don't know how to say it, but you could see yourself doing what they're doing. Like if their style resonates with you, like if someone's almost like a robot, I wouldn't really advise them trying my style of game. I think a robot would better probably try Todd's game. Todd's like a robot, cyborg, human hybrid, and he'd probably be a better match for them.
Of a robot and a human meeting.
But yeah, I see it like my friend Mike, he coaches in Vegas. He gets a lot of Asian students just because he's Asian. But it's like,
are you talking about squatting Casanova?
Yeah, it's like, sure, like he's Asian, but like what if you resonate with someone else and like Like there may be a white student who sees me and they're like, he's white, he's doing game, I can resonate with it. Well, what if your personality is actually more similar to Mike's or to Tay, like who's black? It's like, it doesn't, like, your race shouldn't really factor in. It's more or less, can you resonate with their style of game? Does the stuff they're saying make sense to you? Then that's who you should learn from.
PWF has a huge amount of like Indian, whatever subsect, and part of that is because my business partner Nitin, he's Indian, so like they see him and they're like, okay, this guy can get laid.
He can do it.
Yeah. And so they look at me, they're like, oh, he just gets laid because he's white, like, so they can almost like dismiss what I'm doing.
Dude, I'd say that is one of the, like, I understand. You ever watch Joe Rogan? He often will talk about like he doesn't read comments. And it's like, I just want to get to the point where the engagement in my comment section is enough where I don't have to do anything there and I can just like ignore it. Because, dude, it's the same stuff over and over and over again. It doesn't matter how many times you address it. I may make a video for every type of comment will be addressed in the video. And then I just link the video to people who post the same thing. Because like one of the things I'm referencing is he only gets girls because he's white. Well, what about all the other white guys that aren't getting laid? Are they not getting laid because they're white? Or is it the strategy that they're doing and the fact that they're going out and the fact that they're messaging girls? And it's really stupid.
People have a hard time accepting nuances. So they want it to be black and white. We're getting laid either because we're white or we're getting laid purely because of our game. Like no one wants to look at like the nuances. Okay. Like
it's also a rationalization to keep them where they want to stay, where they don't have to change their identity.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump to the next question. So when you're young, should you focus more on getting money or should there be a mixture of both? So I've actually answered this question several times in the past. Should definitely be a mixture of both. Like when I hear guys say shit like, oh, I'm not doing pickup. I haven't gotten laid in a few years because I'm just focusing on business. Like, dude, I'm fucking focusing on business. I still get laid, even though my business is kind of getting laid. Like, even when I wasn't, like when I was working in corporate America doing solar sales, still getting laid, right? Like, you can do both. Like, no one is working.
Also, how the fuck are you coming? Are you just, you're saying I'm focusing on business, but then are you just jerking off? Like, you got to come somehow. Or are you just pure powering through no fap forever? Dude, I see people talk about no fap and they're just like, yeah, I don't take maca because it makes no fap harder. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be fucking women. Do you understand that? Like your body wants you to fuck women. You need to fuck women. And it's also like people say, should I focus on money or fitness or game? It's like, dude, fitness, how much time of the week do you need to dedicate to fitness? Maybe like a short walk every day and 3-4 times a week in the gym. What is that commitment? 6 hours? Like it's not all of your waking time. And in fact, I find that I can focus better when I am exercising. I feel like
100%.
Yeah, I feel like more on point, and that helps me also with girls. If after I do some deadlifts and some squats, I feel like I'm like on steroids or something. 100%. I don't know. I just feel like so much more alive
like
and alpha.
Natural energy. Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think everything plays in, and there's also like a thing. Like I heard this on my other friend's podcast the other day. This guy was just like, you know what, man? I'm just about getting that money right now. I'm going to focus on it for 2 years straight. And then when I have the money, the girls will come. Dude, Alex, how many clients do we have where they're rich guys, but focus cameras? They get no fucking pussy. And also people, this is another thing with people who can't think of nuance. And this is why I think true good game teachers are so few and far between, is because you have to see nuance. You have to see things from multiple perspectives. And that does require a little bit higher IQ, and it does require a lot of thinking, and thinking is painful to get to the root of things. But yeah, it's like, think about it like this. In one aspect, if women are all about money, who would be the women who would be the guys that women are just masturbating?
Warren Buffett and Bill Gates should be crushing it.
Dude, every girl just like, fuck, dude, that value investing. Oh my God. Did you see that? Did you see that Chinese coal trade that Buffett made? Dude, he got the margin of safety so right on that. Like, no, dude,
That would be
good
epic.
luck.
Imagine you hear that discussion in the clubs.
Yeah. Listen, this guy I'm chatting to at the bar is cool, but Mark Zuckerberg, like, he's just like
Let me tell
crushing
you
it.
about his business model.
So I like to think. I actually had a debate on this like debate site about this. I will make a video on this soon. It's attractiveness for men is like a conglomerate. It's like a mixture of a bunch of things. And if you're just super good in one area, it doesn't matter. Like your other areas, the downside that you have in your fitness or your ability to communicate or your game, what else? Your mental health, your happiness, those areas, that's like another area that people don't think about. But just because you have money, your fitness is on point, and you're getting girls doesn't necessarily mean you're happy. Maybe you're not addressing certain things in your life that will make you happy. One of the things that makes me the happiest actually is just being in nature. I'm lucky to live in a neighborhood where I have 2 nature preserves in my neighborhood. If I go on a walk, it's a literal 5 kilometer, like 3 mile loop in my neighborhood that's through nature preserves. So I can do quote unquote forest bathing. There's like a Japanese term called Shinrin-yoku, which means forest bathing. You're literally like taking in that presence around you. I don't know how to describe it, but when you're in nature, you can feel it, you understand it. But yeah, your personal happiness matters a lot. So you should do things outside of these quote unquote 3 main areas of health, wealth, and love and relationships.
I would say they're all symbiotic. Like I feel the most motivated to like let's say I'm walking to the gym and I see a chick, right? And I approach her. Let's say it does not go well, right? Like say like whatever. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend. That's like when I say it doesn't go well, that's literally the worst thing that happens to me. Yeah. Literally nowadays, the chick like, oh, it was nice to meet you, but I'm actually taken. Those are like my bad.
I'm flattered, but no.
Yeah, like bad. Those are my bad interactions. But anyway, so that motivates me to work out harder in the gym. Let's say that it goes well and I get her number and we set up a date. That also motivates me. I'm like, fuck yeah, like, my fitness is coming along. That also motivates me. Let's say like I have a good workout. That motivates me to go home and then focus on my business. So like, I think all these things are symbiotic and they work well together. Another thing I want to add on is family and friends. Well, maybe you have a shitty family, but friends should definitely be a part of it. Like I try to carve out like at least 2 to 3 hours every single day for just catching up with people who I like, my parents, my cousins, my friends, just like spending time, just, interacting. Like that's like, a key part of my day. So I would say that even if you don't have like a good family that you like, that, friends should be a big part of like, like just catching up with people who you like. And I think that's something that's so missing nowadays. Like a lot of guys, if we're struggling with women, unfortunately also have no friends. Like I see this all the time. Like, I'm like, dude, just get your buddy to take some pictures of you. But I don't have anyone. I'm like, well, just, one of your friends. He's like, but I don't have any friends. Like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like that's a symptom of a bigger problem if you don't have any friends, because how are you supposed to be like, happy and content if you have no friends, like no one that you could share your life with?
That's another thing that feeds into addictions is what's called sobriety is not the opposite of addiction. The opposite of addiction is connection. And a lot of people who don't have connection, they just feel more and more and more disconnected, more needing of something that they can use to escape.
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump on the next question. Yo, Austin, what was the biggest challenge you faced when first starting your own business and brand within the industry? It's a good question.
What was the biggest challenge? I don't know, man. I didn't really even see things as a challenge. It's like my favorite analogy is starting a business is you jump off a cliff with the pieces to create your own airplane, and then you create the airplane on the way down so that you can like not die and and live. And I don't know if I had any challenges because I basically just allocated 16 hours a day to working, and I had to ask myself every day, am I allocating these 16 to 18 hours the most effective way possible? And I just did that for 3 months straight. And then after that period, like, I could more or less have more time. And the more things get set up in your business, the more perspective and stillness you can have. There's a great book, Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. And that there is a grind period in all businesses where you do go through challenges and stuff. But I know like the smartest business people I know that are the richest, they have one task to focus on per day. And sometimes they'll take like a think week. So the CEO of who's the old starter of Microsoft? Bill Gates. Bill Gates will take a think week. He'll take 7 days out of every year, go into the mountains, into a lodge, and just think about the number one problem that he needs to solve. And so I don't think I had really challenges. I more or less, because I had been working in business and doing everything that an entrepreneur does for 2.5 years. So it was mainly just taking the same skill set and moving it over.
I would also go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say that the number one thing people just don't do is they just don't start because they think they need to research more and they think they need to like dick around and mental masturbate. And I think another trap that a lot of entrepreneurs fall into is they just think by doing busy work or checking their emails or things like this, they're doing something, but they're not, because they're not doing something that's the most effective thing to do on their business at that moment.
Yeah, I would also make the argument, and I've said this in other videos I've done, is that having a business or being an entrepreneur is really not for everyone. In fact, I would say it's not for the majority of people.
I'd say it's like 1%.
Yeah, you need certain things to be a good businessman. And a big one,
high tolerance for risk.
Yes, and another huge one is also ability to motivate yourself. Like I know a lot of people who can't, like if they don't have a boss, like I hear, when I'm working from home, I can't get anything done. But like that's a symptom of like, you need someone to kind of ride your ass to get shit done. So you have to have this ability to like motivate yourself and be self-accountable, which not a lot of people have. It's kind of been my observation. So I think a big part of this is just knowing yourself and, knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are. Like I know a big weakness, I'll name a numerous. One of my big weaknesses is finances and accounting. I am fucking horrible with math and numbers and shit. So guess who the playing with fire accountant is? My mother. I literally I have my mom just do all the numbers, right? Like I'm horrible with tech shit. Like I just don't know shit about technology. So I have a tech guy who I pay. I'm not that great at marketing. I have some potential. Like I understand the concept behind marketing. I don't know all the little technicalities and stuff. So I'm a marketing guy. There's all these things. I've never built an app before in my life. I don't really know much about, coding. So I have an app guy who designs my app. So I think also a big part is just knowing where your strengths are, but I am good at creating content, putting out
that comes down to self-awareness.
Yeah. So I think that's another huge thing is just knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are.
And that you could summarize that. My favorite quote about that is the answer is not how, but who. Like, for example, I'll name my weakness. It's sales. I hate selling. I hate following up with people for money or for prospects and that kind of thing. I just would rather not. I would literally it's like not even worth it to me, but which is horrible because that's like the basis of a business. So I outsource that. So what you second or what you don't like, you outsource.
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, let's jump to the next question. Let's take maybe 4 or 5 more questions. How do you resolve or fear concern of you being a player? So I would make the argument that it's okay to be a player. Like every chick who I'm with right now knows I'm a player. A big thing I've talked about in the past is I have this don't ask, don't tell policy with my booty calls. So I never rub it in their face. I'm never like, yo, I fucked a hottie last night. Like I'm never, they know that I'm hooking up with other girls. I never rub it in their face and I try to be respectful about it, right? So it's like I'm like a player with a heart, I guess is the best way to explain my style. Not always. Sometimes I can be a little bit of a dick, but generally speaking. So yeah, I also just reframe the idea of a player. So I'll just say something like, well, would you prefer a guy who has no experience with women? And every chick's gonna be like, well, no, I want a guy who knows what he's doing. I'm like, well, you get that from experience. So I just kind of get them to reframe what exactly that being a player is actually not a bad thing, that they actually want a guy who's more or less like a player. What would be your take on that?
Yeah, there's a great meme on this where it's like, so some girl, I think this is a Twitter post. She goes, I like that my man has no hose, but why does he have no hose? Am I competing for a prize no one wants? Something like this. And there's a saying in the red pill community. It's women would rather be a faceless person or like a faceless woman in it. Okay, she would rather be a faceless woman in a harem than a special someone to an average guy. which is it's just an extreme point, and it's not totally true, but
Elements of truth, though.
Yeah, there's elements of truth to it. And I have a video called "The Dark Truth About Game," and it goes into the ancestral reasons for why women prefer a high value man, and would rather fuck the high value guy instead of be exclusive with a low value guy.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. All right, so let's jump to the next question. Austin, I really
sorry. The one last thing I would say on that is a really practical way for dealing with it is I like to just exaggerate it and be like for example, if you meet a girl in person and she says like, "Are you doing this to all of the girls?" Yeah, you're the 100th one today, or like the other example I've seen you use this too is it's like no. And then you mentioned like the specific situation, like with kind of cheekiness. So do I do podcasts with anyone? No, only cute Russian guys wearing blue shirts, right?
Flattered. Yeah, man. Like I might say something like, "No, I'm a shy virgin. What are you talking about?" Right? And she clearly knows it's not true.
Go the opposite way.
I'll just be like, "No, you're the first girl I've ever talked to. How am I doing so far?"
I've been practicing on my sister. Yeah, how am I doing?
yeah, shit like that. All right, let's jump to the next question. Oh wait, this was the next question. Austin, I really like your style for flirting. How can I be more fun and playful with women? How do you escalate so far and fast?
I don't see any separation between myself and the other person, so I don't even view her almost as a stranger. I view her as like, oh, a cool girl that's part of the same world that I inhabit, and like we're the same thing. And you get really deep with spirituality. You realize that everything is one, which sounds weird, but if you go deep into meditation, shrooms, psychedelics, everything hints back to the fact that everything is connected in oneness and unity. And the things that will cause you the most pain are when you're trying to cause separation. So yeah, I just view her as like, the old school used to call this assuming familiarity, but I basically just assume she's like my girlfriend already. So that, and then in terms of being playful, if you're a very logical guy, sign up for improv class. If I give you 2 things that'll improve your humor, it's improv class. I'll give you 3 things. Take an improv class, listen to 1 hour of stand-up comedy every day, and go out and game in person. Those are the things I'd say.
Yeah. And just don't be so serious. Just like fuck around a little bit. Like, you know how if you can fuck around with your friends, then you can fuck around with women, right? If you can't, laugh or fuck around with anybody, then okay, that's probably a deeper issue. But most guys don't fall in that category. Most guys can have a good time and laugh with their friends. They just can't do it with women. So
that usually is an anxiety issue, because when the more the anxiety comes in, the less reach you have for those kind of playful expressions and the things you normally would use. So a lot of that comes down to desensitization, because a lot of people don't see how many reps you have to put in. The same thing with business, and the same thing with fitness. You're putting in reps, right?
For sure.
The same thing with games. So the more reps you put in, the more desensitized and normalized you are around girls, then the more your true personality can start to come through.
For sure. I like this question. I've gained some weight recently and have a gut. How can I feel secure about it? So I would say lose the fucking gut. Go do a fast, do intermittent fasting, get into calorie deficit. My argument is you don't even need to try to feel secure. Like if you lose your hair, yeah, that's something that you need to work on and get to a point where you're secure about it. If you're at a point where you can't get your hair back. If you just gained a gut and you used to be skinny, you can fucking lose that weight in a month. Like you don't need to do like radical self-acceptance. You just need to fucking lose the gut, and then you can feel good about yourself.
Yeah. For online game, it matters more than in-person game. Like in person, you literally take a girl's hand, put it on your belly, and be like, touch my Buddha belly, rub it for good luck. Like you just fuck around with it. Like it literally doesn't have an impact in in-person game.
Well, what role do you think? This is one thing you and I might disagree on a little bit. How important do you think sexual market value is?
I'd say it does. Women will have a threshold for like what they will allow. But the thing is, dude, like I say this, but at the same time, my experience in life is just giving me so many like no's to that. Like I've just seen way too many times where it doesn't work like that, where girls
Like
not
with
just
you
like
personally or people you know?
me personally, people I've known, people I've coached, Vadim, like, dude, so many times that we've stolen girls off of guys who are like richer, better looking, saying, "Come to my Mercedes." They're cooler. Like just being able to like game just outweighs so much of that to the point where it's like it almost make like, hey, I'll give you one example. So we went out to, you've lived in LA, you've heard about like the good times of Davy Wayne's.
Yeah.
There's usually like 3 hot girls in the whole venue. The rest are like average.
Like 100 hipsters. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so I go there. I'll take you through a scenario. I don't have a bed in my room because I don't have money. So I sleep on the floor. My shoe, there's one of my shoes is falling apart. I put some duct tape on it. It still doesn't work that well. I'm like, fuck it. Let's go out, bro. Haven't showered in 5 days. I'm just on this like rampage of like girls in my place. Meanwhile, fucking them on the floor. Going out, like I smell like shit. I wearing the same clothes as yesterday, shoes falling apart. My nose is broken. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my nose is broken. I've broken it twice, once through hitting a car, bicycle riding. Second time was playing ultimate frisbee. Yeah, got a concussion from it and everything. So anyway, I go out. I have all these things fucking me up. I'm not super jacked. I have no special abilities really. All I have is really solid game and like the momentum on my side of just having so many wins. So I go out, I have the most fucking fun. I'm the center of attention. I'm dancing at fucking good times at Davy Wayne's. I'm singing to the songs. So they play good music. I bring back the hottest girl from that venue, deal with a bunch of shit with her friends, etc. This girl is like extremely hot. Looks like a girl next door, but she also has fake tits. Like just like the average viewer who's looking like 10 out of 10 and fuck the girl that night. Now, is her brain processing like the fact that she's getting fucked on the floor in a room that should have a bed, that this guy is shoes falling apart, that he doesn't smell that good, like all these other things. She's just caught up in the emotions in the moment, my quote unquote game, my ability to give her a good experience and just going with it. And that same week, this is another thing with money. This girl, I can show you text messages for this one too. This girl, her parents established orphanages and schools for like children in developing countries. They have a house in Malibu, like houses in London, and just she looks like she's basically like a billionaire's daughter who the billionaire got like a fucking hot wife, and she's the offspring. And I fuck her at my place on the floor, and like every time I see her, we walk around in my neighborhood. She keeps asking like, yeah, what happened to your bed? I thought it was like coming in the mail. And I'm like, oh yeah, they called me again. It's not coming. So like maybe like, I think that SMV stuff matters more in terms of the long term when a woman compares what her life would be like with you versus without you. When she starts thinking about having children, I think it plays a lot more into effect then. Not necessarily when she's going out to have fun in a nightclub, not when she's thinking about casual dating. Yeah, I've also had too many experiences. Like my car's breaking down, bringing a girl back from a date like twice. And I'm like, restarting the engine because I can't pay for the oil to change. Sometimes I bring girls out and I literally don't have money to pay for the date. And I ask the girl to pay for my shit on the date. Like just so many experiences like that where I can't totally buy into the whole red pill idea of SMV, but I will say like 100% for online game, the better my pictures look, the more muscle I've put on for certain pictures, 100% plays into it. Also, an in-person game, just having decent fashion on the street, especially for day game, your overall appearance will play into effect, your hygiene, etc., all plays into effect, but not so much as much as people think, and your game can outweigh that so vastly that it's almost laughable sometimes that I even like focus on it. Hey, I'll give you one last example before we move on. My first boot camp student ever, in Toronto. His name's Chris. He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, just incredible musculature. Look, he's competed and shit. I see him 1 year after the boot camp when he's just getting more and more results with girls, and he's lost like half of his muscle. He's still somewhat big, right? But he's lost a lot of it. And I go like, dude, what the fuck happened? Like, you've not been working out? And he's like, I do, but not as much. I don't take steroids anymore. I realize that like it doesn't matter that much. So it does matter to a certain point, but beyond that, it's about your ability to connect, your ability to give people great experiences, your ability to make people laugh, have fun, your ability to give girls something that guys with more money, looks, status, etc., can't give them. And for the majority of guys listening, that is there'll always be a guy who's richer than you. There'll always be a guy that's better looking than you. But your individual personality, your experience of life, your ability to connect, to be authentic, that's what's truly yours. And that if you truly own that and learn how to convey and cultivate that, that's your biggest ROI, I believe.
So I would make the argument that despite your questionable sleeping situation and your not so well put together shoes, that you still are probably above average sexual market value. I think that sexual market value isn't.
I don't know, man. I've tested a lot of photos from that time. Usually they get between 4s and 5s on a photo feeler.
Even if you're a 5, that still puts you at average. Like I would say that. So I do agree that game is huge.
Being obese, like very, very tough to get over that. If you are 3 feet tall, yeah, very hard. But all other things being equal, I think those things aren't as important as people make them. And I will say, yeah, it could determine. See, I wouldn't even say it will determine your ultimate results, because there's like, the guy Sean Stevenson, the guy's like, he's like this weird cripple, like tiny.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly.
Dude, he has a fucking hot girlfriend. Like, it just shows like the pattern of, and obviously on average, will people who look like that get those kind of results unless they become a motivational speaker? Probably not, right?
But to be fair, he also, his sexual market value, a big part of that status, and because he is a world famous motivational speaker.
Exactly.
Does give him a big
so I take it into account, but I'd say your looks probably play like a 30% into everything, maybe 30-50%, right? And it also depends. See, this is the problem that you get with these numbers and stuff. It's because certain girls will like certain things. If you have some girl from Guatemala and she's fucking 4'7",
sexual market value not being static. So the example would be, if you're pretty young, I'm assuming this was really young when it's going on. Girls who are younger, they focus more on like looks, versus girls who are older would focus more on money. And for like a 45-year-old MILF,
and ambition.
Yeah, like your sleeping situation might be a deal breaker, but for like a young 20-year-old, she doesn't really care about it that much. So it does vary, and also based on her ethnicity. So this is
what she's looking for. Like if that 29-year-old who's supposedly more SMV focused, but she's just looking to get fucked that night,
yes,
versus she wants to like casually date but has her eyes on like locking down a man to have babies, right?
I mean, that's definitely very true. This is the way I describe it. Your looks are 100%, your game is 100%. So meaning that they're two sides of the same coin. This is kind of how I look at it. Your sexual market value, which it always varies, depends on the girl, depends on your environment. It's not static, right? Your sexual market value is what kind of gets your foot in the door. So if a chick doesn't find you, if a chick is like, ugh, like this guy's ugly, like try being a homeless guy and doing cold approach. Like you're gonna have mostly bad reactions. You have insanely good game because your sexual market value is so low due to your the fact that you're homeless, your complete lack of status, right?
Although if you type in homeless man meeting girls, I actually know that guy, and yeah, he would go, yeah, dude, and he would. That would be sick. Yeah, he would like go and sleep at girls' places, eat their food, like shower. He kept up his appearance, but he was homeless.
But he wasn't a bad-looking guy though. That guy was like probably above average.
He was pretty good looking. Yeah, he was kind of like a Chad.
But yeah. There's always exceptions for everything we're saying. There's always exceptions and one-offs. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But So looks is kind of what gets your foot in the door, right? Game is what allows you to capitalize on all the opportunities that you have. So let's take a guy who has really high sexual market value but no game. So he's going to have a lot of opportunities. He's just going to blow pretty much every single one of those opportunities. And I personally know guys like that who have sexual market value way higher than me, and chicks are always, they're focused on them first in the interaction. But then they blow it out, and then I'm the one that fucks the girl, right? I've seen this time and time again. But initially, like, the girl's more interested in the other guy, even though my game is a lot better. So you have that, right? If you have a guy who has really good game but low sexual market value, is he's going to have a hard time sometimes getting his foot in the door. But once he does, he's going to be able to capitalize on the opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the way
you should ideally work on both.
You got to work on both. They're not mutually exclusive, and you should work on both of them. They're two sides of the same coin.
And I will say there's one aspect where guys, they get so, they're like, I'm losing my hair, dude. What do I have to do? And they're all the time, they're just thinking about their fucking hair loss.
Watch
so
the video.
They're not approaching. They're not on online dating. They're not messaging any girls because they're so fucking focused on their hair loss that they're literally just like obsessed with it to the point where it's like,
yes,
like a mental disorder that they're just focused on their hair loss. And that's what makes them more unattractive than even being bald. It's like, dude.
Dude, it's funny you say this. My roommate has literally this issue. So he's an above average looking guy. I'm not going to give away too many personal info about him, with a really, really cool job, like a really fascinating career, right? That's going to be high value to pretty much every girl. And he's above average looking. He's not a model though. And sometimes we try, I'm like, dude, like, why don't you do more cold approach? Like, you've seen me get laid from cold approach, so you know it works. And he's like, yeah, but it's not going to work in Miami. I was like, why? He's like, well, these girls are just, so attractive here. And I was like, so? He's like, well, my sexual market value is not that high. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? You're above average. Like, what? Like, me and you're probably more or less on the same level in terms of sexual market value. So you're working for me. And that's literally his rationalization. It's like, yeah, but I'm not like, a perfect Chad. So why would these chicks want to get with me? And then when we walk outside, and I'll show them examples of like this old Cuban poppy with like a hot mod. I'm like, dude, look at this 60-year-old who's like fucking swaggering. Like, his sexual market value is way lower than yours. But it's just like, yeah. So I do think that
I feel like you could almost put mental health and game in sexual market value as well, because like that Cuban poppy that has a swagger to him, that is part of his sexual market value. She's like, I got the fucking guy with the swagger, right? Yeah. Versus this guy who's like self-doubting all the time. And like if your roommate even got the girl, he would still be like, she's going to fucking leave me, dude. My SMV is so low. Like, dude, why is she with me, bro?
100%. Those are the thoughts that enter his head. Well, we've kind of sat down and talked about that numerous times. Like, he's always like, but like, why would this chick want to be with me when there's better looking guys?
Dude, just get that guy introduced to narcissism. Like, literally swing the pendulum the exact opposite way. Get him be like, dude, you're a fucking god, man.
You're a stud, man. Biggest thing in Miami. Yeah.
Like, dude, if I flew you down to Colombia, they'd erect a statue of you in a small village and start worshiping you as a god.
Yeah. That's probably the way to go. All right, let's take like one or two more questions. What are your thoughts on seeking arrangement? Is it more toxic than Tinder? Have you ever fucked around with SA?
Yeah. So in 2018, I fucked like 8 girls off of it, and my experience was either like, and this is doing the salt daddy game basically. It's basically you're not a sugar daddy, you're a salt daddy, because I don't have enough money to be a sugar daddy. But maybe in Colombia I do, but not here. But my experience was actually kind of decent. So like one girl, and this is the cool thing about having game, is if you're just exposed to girls, like you get laid. It's just about getting access to the girls. So the cool thing about seeking arrangement is that if you have to pay $80 a month, which screens out virtually all low value guys, because most low value guys don't have money to even afford that. It's like $80 to go into the rent or something. So I paid for it. And like, dude, the first day I got it, I had like 2 dates set up. One I actually just called. It was just like half Swedish, half like Asian chick, I think. I messaged her and I'm like, I just gamed her on the phone for 30 minutes and had her come over in an Uber. And banged that night. And then another date with this girl who looked like, you ever see Lilo and Stitch? She looked like the chick from that show. She had like some Polynesian ancestry. Cool. Put my flag over there. But yeah, so I got laid twice in a week from that, like my first time using it. And then after that, I went to Austin, Texas. One of the girls I met in Austin, Texas was through it. Super fucking hot. Like, Alex, this is another video that I could show you in private, but holy fuck, dude. I think one of the reasons I don't watch porn as much anymore is because I've made so much good porn. To the fact that
I know exactly what you mean. You
know what I'm talking? You're watching porn and you're like, the girl's not as hot as the girls I'm fucking. Yeah. They're not. It's not filmed properly. I'm like, why can't you put a fucking ring light or a good light panel on there? I can't see the fucking girl. They're like, they don't dirty talk. There's one position. You're just like, what the fuck is this nonsense? So, yeah. Anyway, so if you want a quick tip to stop watching porn, shoot porn with really hot girls. But yeah, so yeah, I think it's been somewhat decent, but I have heard of a lot of people using it and they don't. I guess maybe they don't screen the girls properly, but I screened hard as fuck. I screened
really hard on Seeking Arrangement.
I screened hard as fuck. I was like, I will never pay anything. I will pay for dinner dates. I will pay if we travel somewhere. I'll give you a spa day that we could relax together. Things like this. But I will never. And there's girls on that site that's explicitly they're there because they want to meet more successful men. So that's who I focus on, and then I made sure I screened. So I actually had a great experience with it. I met really hot girls. I don't know how effective it is anymore. I haven't been back in the USA for 2.5 years. So I'm really excited to start gaming, and I'm also single now. So I'm ready to start gaming and shit too. But I had a pretty decent experience with it. I don't know about you.
I would say I fucked around with Seeking Arrangement quite extensively. I even made a video on this, and then fucking Seeking Arrangement threatened to sue me, so I took the video down. That's a story I'll tell you. Okay. But anyway, so
everything I said about the website, that was for entertainment purposes only.
Entertainment purposes. We're just we're high, man. We don't know what
I'm laughing. It's entertainment.
Yeah. I fucked around. I think what we're doing now is okay, but I fucked around extensively on Seeking Arrangement, and you can fuck some of the hottest girls of your life with the least amount of effort through Seeking Arrangement. Like, you can fuck, you know how people say, oh, there's no 10s on Tinder? Trust me, there's 10s on fucking Seeking Arrangement. Like, you fuck some of the hottest chicks. I fuck like porn stars on there. I fuck like literally the hottest girls ever. And great for hookups, great for sex. Kind of what you said. You really need to screen on that. That should be such a huge.
And I like that you could search by the girls by like things in their profile. So if there's like a specific
page.
Dude, there's girls who I've banged off of there who I reached out to because of a specific kink that they had.
You can do that. Wait, there's kinks.
So you search but you can search in their profile for certain terms.
Okay.
And the search term that I searched for was DDLG, if you know what that is.
Daddy little girl or something, right?
Yeah, it's like daddy dom little girl, basically.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, I actually never got too into DDLG, but. Anyway,
yeah, profile text is cool to use too, because I remember using it for like healthy eating and stuff like that to find girls who are like more into healthy lifestyle too.
But anyway, so
I wish there was an option like that for man. I wish like old online dating was just on one platform and you could search by every characteristic you want, and you could do an option where like $100 a month you filter out 95% of the guys, and then those girls are chasing you, which is kind of like what Seeking Arrangement is, but you miss out on a lot of girls to go Tinder, Bumble, Hinge.
Dude, as a quick side note, we're actually building our own dating app right now. So it's going to take a year to come out, but we're actually going to have what you're saying. We're going to have a review system on the dating app, so you can actually leave reviews for the person that you go out with. So there's going to be a lot of cool shit that we're doing.
Dude, there used to be a thing for that for girls reviewing guys. And
what site was that?
Man, I'd have to like do some serious digging in my Google Drive, but I could probably find it. And they made one. Here's the warning I would give you: is they made one for guys rating girls, which is the exact same copy of that site, and I think it was by the same developers, but it was flagged and taken down for being sexist. Whereas the one where women could rate men was completely fine.
It does not surprise me at all. But anyway, so Seeking Arrangement, great for getting some of the hottest ladies in your life as easy as possible. That being said, I do think that the women on Seeking Arrangement, on average, are way more toxic than Tinder. Like, generally, all these chicks, I didn't want to hang out with them like more than once or twice after sex. There are some exceptions. There was a few cool girls I met on there. But generally speaking, I just found them to be like shitty people. I generally I can't really respect a woman who like is a whatever sugar baby or like what's it called, gold digger. Like I just don't really have respect for those types of people. But
if on their profile it says like I'm here to meet a successful guy, I already have my own money, don't try to buy me or whatever, like that's I'm like, okay, cool, that's
true,
makes sense
for sure. And those do exist on there. There's also the girls on there who are just on there because they have the 50 Shades of Grey fantasy, so they want to meet like Christian Grey. So those are also another type of chick that I would go for. Like they don't care about money; they just want to get dominated and fucked really hard by a successful guy. So, but the point I'm trying to make is, so it's good for that. I don't think it's good for relationships. And, it just kind of, for me, at least it just got old. That's the reason I stopped doing it. Like, I got to a point in my life where I wanted more connection with the chicks while I was fucking. I just wanted more like consistent booty calls and shit. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll still have one night stands all the time. But like, that's not my main goal right now. And I just didn't feel like Secure Engagement was a good platform for that. So I got off it. But yeah, so
this was a question I had for you is, because for me the reason I like game more than online, and I do literally every aspect of game I've done or do, but the reason why I prefer in-person game is that it's just more enjoyable for me, where I can like I'm meeting people in real life and I'm like outside, sunshine, like saying hi to girls. Like you never know what you're going to meet. It's like adrenaline almost. You could meet a girl right then and there and bring her home, as opposed to like, having to plan things. And I find that if I do online game, it's like there's so many messages popping up that like, I have the shortcuts and stuff, but it's like I feel like I spend so much time on my phone. I'd rather just like have a really solid interaction in person, give the girl my Instagram. We exchange a few texts for logistics and we meet up, as opposed to like trying to build things off of cold leads online where the girl like doesn't know how cool you are because every guy online can say hello, but not in real life.
Right.
So my question is basically, do you enjoy the twiddling of the thumbs for online game?
I love twiddling my thumbs. No, I mean, like I enjoy. So I'm a little different than you. I enjoy cold approach, but only in small doses. Like I like to chat up chicks when I'm walking my dog, and sometimes I like to go out with my buddies. Like I don't do solo game or anything like that. Like I like to go out with my buddies, maybe once a week, and just fuck around. And I'll get a bunch of phone numbers, and sometimes I'll have one night stands and pull chicks that night. I used to be at a point like 4 or 5 years ago where I did enjoy doing a lot of cold approach and pickup, and that was a big part of it. And just it got to a point where it got a little boring, and a little old for me. It's more or less like similar shit. So I enjoy it. I enjoy it in small doses, and I enjoy online also in small to moderate doses. So like I'm not on the dating apps. I think a lot of people do think that I am, but contrary to popular belief, I'm not on dating apps that often. Like sometimes I'll let days filled up. I just have so many leads like already stacked up in my phone. Like if I go to a new city, it's different. Like if I was to, go to Toronto right now, I probably would have that initial immersion period where I would spend a lot more time to build up that kind of funnel. But like, I've been living in Miami for 4 years. Like I just have like so much like already built up. Like I don't really need to do too much. It's like pretty, like I do most of my Tindering and my online dating when I'm taking a shit, when I'm stuck in traffic, and when I'm in between sets of the gym. That's what I would say like 80-90% of my online game gets done. So it's not like I'm carving out 2 hours of my day to just like sit down and do, online game. And the same thing with cold approach. Most of the time I meet chicks like when I'm actually just running some errands or some shit like that. Like I'm just walking around like,
that's honestly how it should be. But for you to get to that point, you did have to have an immersive period.
100%.
And yeah, same for me. And I think it's the same for most guys too.
Sure
okay, so everything you said makes sense, and that's basically the exact same thing how I feel. But I thought for some reason I was just like, you're just like, yeah, I love just
people always think that. Yeah.
Fingering my phone is better than a woman. Oh yeah.
Yeah. People always think that. I'm sure you can also relate that now that you have a dog, like having a dog is a fucking game changer.
Dude, if I knew about this earlier, yeah. First of all,
game changer.
Having a dog is just awesome.
It's just awesome
because it's a dog, and it's like the best being that has been created by God.
Yep, unconditional love.
Beyond that, it's like dude, it gets you outside, you're walking, you're healthier, it gets you into nature, it gets you at parks, it gets you socializing with people in real life. If girls want to open you, they pet your dog and ask you about your dog. And then like literally, I like to do things where it turns the question on its head. So guys will go, how do I DM this one girl? And I'm like, here's my academy video about how to have 80 girls DM you. It's like, oh, okay, that's better. It's like, how do I approach this one girl versus how do I have like 10 hot girls approach me every day? It's like dog is the way you get the girls approaching you. Like Instagram ads is how you get the girls DMing you. It's like so funny how like there's very, very key things that make a lot of difference. And also I'm the same as you. Like I'll go out from time to time and just have like a fun full night out, but I'm not dedicating like 4 hours, every single day like I used to, and just going out like crazy. And having a dog's literally, I think it may be the best long-term day game strategy because you're just naturally in conversation. And it's not just like girls, it's just like people in general that you meet and especially you're meeting dog people. Dog people are usually like very friendly. They're like go with the flow. They're not neurotic. Like, dude, at the other day I took her to the beach and she's like running around and like flinging up sand into their bag. And they're like, oh, it's fine. Like my dog does the same thing. Like, it's like, they're so chill. They're so easy to get along with. And I would say getting a dog once game is one of the best things. People always want to skip ahead, dude. They always want to skip ahead. They just want to be like, I just want to have the pictures to the girls.
Still get the fucking dog. Like at the very least, you're gonna have a best friend to make you go outside more. It can only help, dude. Honestly, I've had like kind of what you're talking about, like people want to interact with you more. I used to bring my dog to the gym all the time, and I would have like these really fucking, let's say like.
How do you do that? Where do you leave your dog?
Registered him as a service dog. He would just come with me while I worked out. Yeah.
Inside the gym?
Inside the gym.
Dude. Wait. Yeah. Keep going. I can hear you because these are wireless.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'd have like a really ghetto-looking, scary, jacked, like fucking gangster-looking dude come up to me and be like, "Hey, Holmes, can I play with your dog?" I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, man, go for it." He'd be like, "Oh, puppy, so oh my god!" Like they just become like lovey-dovey and melty. It was just like hilarious. And just like all the chicks, yeah, service dog. There we go. There we go, my man. Did you register through that site that I told you about?
Maybe.
Yeah. But anyway, so, it just like opens up a lot of opportunities. Like I have chicks that come up to me all the time, like, asking me about my dog. It also becomes easier to open if you have a dog. Like in day game, I'll just go up to like a group of girls and I'll say, "Oh, sorry, my dog, wanted to meet you guys real quick." And like they know that I'm hitting on them, right? Like, but they like it kind of gives like an easy excuse, like, "Oh, sorry, my dog really kept leading me over here." Meanwhile, I forced Rhaegar to come there. Like, you guys now.
Yeah, she likes you more than she likes other girls. It's weird.
Yeah, he really likes you. And like,
it's so weird.
No girl's gonna say.
She usually hates people.
Yeah, no girl's ever gonna say "fuck off," like get away from your dog. Dude, I remember what was this, 2 nights ago? Me and I went for a walk with my roommate and another guy, and with Rhaegar, we're walking around. There's like a 3-4 set, and there's one guy there. So I approach, talk to one girl, kind of isolate her, good interaction, get her phone number, and the guy's just glaring the whole fucking time, right? And the chick is all about it, get her number, like, we're texting now. And then as I walk away, the guy's like, "Walk your fucking dog somewhere else." And I just look around at him and he like looks away. I'm like, "All right, bro, like, nice one." Nice one, dude. I want to quickly, before we call it, I want to actually touch on something you said, which I think is very interesting. Can you talk more about Instagram ads and how that works?
I feel like I shouldn't because, as they say, marketers ruin everything, right?
Tell me offline.
Yeah, I will tell you offline. But yeah. And even if I tell you, you should keep it for your own private audience. For sure. Because things that are really good, they should be kept for people in our personal mentorships and not ruined by the masses who can't even capitalize on the girls.
The last thing I actually want to touch on before we call it is you mentioned that when you're doing cold approach, this kind of stood out to me that you get the girl's Instagram. Now, is this in addition to the phone number or you just do solely Instagram?
Yeah, so if I have a very short interaction, I can only take one thing. I will grab the Instagram because that builds up passive attraction over time, right? Whereas if I just grab a girl's, I wanted to understand your take on this. Could you? Okay. Let me finish my point, and then we'll go back. So yeah, if it's a longer interaction, I will grab two forms of contact. So I'll grab the number or WhatsApp because that's a direct line of contact with the girl where I can message her, she gets the notification, or I can call her. And I'll grab Instagram so she can see the aspects of my life that I couldn't convey while meeting her in person, and see that, I throw parties and I've got a cute dog, or that I have, traveled a bunch of places, that I speak multiple languages, that I'm a fun general guy or whatever. Sometimes you don't always come across in your best qualities like the first time you meet someone. So if you have time, grab both. If you don't, either just go for one. And I recommend Instagram because, dude, so many text game questions can be solved by just having an Instagram and posting one or two things a day on it. It's like, dude, well, I haven't texted her in 2 days. Like, what do I say? Like, if you just had an Instagram, she would have responded to your story, or you could have responded to her story, which is less like out of the blue and less try hard. Another thing I really like about Instagram is that you could send a video message as like a disappearing video message. So you could convey like a lot of things in a 15-second video message or an audio message that you may not be able to convey through text. And then afterward, when she responds to it, she has to type out a lot because girls are usually not as confident to do a video message. And then when she looks back in her chat, she sees like a video oval. You know how like when it disappears, it just shows like video has been seen. And then her response to that's going to be a lot more because you're conveying a lot in your video. You see what I mean? Yeah, so it looks like you've invested less than she has. So there's so many like cool little things about Instagram and ways to gauge the girl's investment and how interested she is with that you can't do on text. You can't tell if a girl's thinking about you if all you have is her number. You can tell if a girl's thinking about you if she's been watching every single story that you have for 3 days straight,
That's
right?
a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these are all fair points. And I think this is actually that's a good strategy. Potentially for an advanced guy. I do say though, for a beginner intermediate guy, always go for the numbers, simply because I feel like for a lot of guys who are still learning game, Instagram closes are like an easy way out. Like it takes a lot less balls to be like, let me add you on Instagram, then what's your number, right? Like it takes a little. So if you're doing it from a strategic perspective, kind of like what you're doing, I think that makes sense because you made some good points. I would say for a beginner, intermediate guy, go for the number. Another thing I'll do is I'll always go for the number. I'll sometimes grab the Instagram as well, but typically what I'll do over text, within like 3, 4, 5 messages, I'll say, do you have Instagram, right? Especially if it was a short interaction, and then I add them on Instagram. My only issue with going right for the Instagram and not getting the number is sometimes you just get lost in the sea of DMs.
Yep. I was just about to say this. So sometimes in the middle of a conversation, like if I'm in a short interaction, I'll just grab the Instagram, whatever. But if I see, like, sometimes I was in New York, I approached this girl, she's super stunning, and I just thought she was hot. But then I look at her thing, she's like, no, a professional model, Paris, London, New York City. It's like 45,000 followers. Okay, if I just stick with that, there's no possibility that I'm going to meet up with this girl because I'm just like you said, it's like in a lot of these girls, they have a professional account. It's sort by top accounts or sort by newest people who have DM'd you, right? And so it's harder to find people who are freshly DMing you. There's no notification for it if it goes into the other folder, right? So immediately after that, I go for the number. So especially, with girls that have a lot of followers, it's like, always get.
And dude, if you see, have you ever gone through I'm sure you have, like the messages girls get on Instagram? Like it is obnoxious how many DMs hot chicks get.
Yeah, it's like 99 plus.
Yeah, dude. Like I think I'm like hot shit with playing with fire. We get a lot of DMs on Instagram. Like, dude, me as a person who has been putting out content for years and, has a lot of content and, a name brand in the community, I come nowhere close to your average hot chick in terms of DMs. So it's just, it's fascinating.
And the reason why is because, and that's inflating a lot of girls' egos too, because they're going from local attractiveness to global attractiveness. Now anyone with an internet connection can DM her.
100%. That's definitely true. All right, man. Yeah, we covered some awesome fucking points here. This was an epic live stream. I really appreciate you coming on, man, and dropping some wisdom. How can people, follow your content? How can people get in touch with you?
Just YouTube Austen Summers.
All right, cool. We'll link everything in the description. Do you have any? You said you have a mastermind.
I will give this to your followers just as some extra value. If you want to see how I set up my personal Instagram, so this isn't even my Instagram that talks about game. It's just how I set up my personal Instagram for meeting girls. It's at Austen's Life. Let's see if I can. I don't know if this goes to the chat, but like this.
We'll post it in the description. So that's not the one that I talked to you on, right? That's a different one.
No, well, my other ones. I'm Austen Summers literally everywhere online. Like I bought domains, I bought like the fucking @signs because other people took it. So Austen Summers everywhere. But Austen's Life is like the shows my personal like Instagram that I like, quote unquote, for being attractive and attracting women. Dude, I love that question. What should I post to be attractive?
Dick pics. Lots of dick pics. That's what gets chicks going here. Awesome, man. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that one myself. Yeah, bro. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Epic live stream. We're gonna have another epic one next weekend. Trying to confirm the guests, but it should be someone quite special. Any closing thoughts, Austen?
Let's go to the dog beach over here and walk our dogs on the beach. That's my closing thoughts.
I'm down. we gotta get ready to go some more action.
There we go.
All right. Good chat.